Chapter 441. The Third Saint Master. Divine melt heaven and earth. Seeing his sword chi blocked, Lu Qing raised an eyebrow, slightly surprised. He looked in the direction from which the sword chi had come and saw a white figure that had appeared, not knowing when, atop a nearby rooftop. It was a young-faced man dressed in white, yet with snow-white hair. Standing with his hands behind his back, his aura was very restrained, almost like that of an ordinary person. Yet no one dared to treat him as an ordinary person. To be able to conceal one's aura to such an extent, eluding the senses of all the strong, and silently reaching the rooftop, he couldn't possibly be an ordinary person. Moreover, upon recognizing the man in white, some couldn't help but exclaim, "The third saint! What, this man is a saint?" Indeed, I thought so. With such a commotion in the city, how could the three saints not be alerted? It seems Master Xianming is going to escape disaster this time. With the third saint intervening, he is known for detesting evil. This young man is likely in trouble. Among the observing strong ones, many had met the three saints of the Holy Mountain and recognized him immediately. In a dark corner, a shadow felt a shock, his eyes showing a look of confusion. This guy is one of those three saints? Why does he look a bit off? Why has the third saint come? Atop the high tower, the tower master of Tianji Building was also shocked upon seeing the white figure. At the same time, he worried. Among the three saints, the third saint is known to be uncompromising. I hope young Master Lu doesn't offend him. Even though he was worried, the tower master of Tianji Building dared not send a message to Lu Qing. He might have achieved great success of the innate realm, just a step away from perfection, and had some insights in the cultivation of divine soul power. But to send a divine soul message across 100 meters in the Saint City, where invisible forces were at play, was still beyond his ability. Moreover, with the profound and mysterious realms of the three saints, every time he met them, he felt it was impossible to look them in the eye. Even if he sent a divine soul message, he couldn't keep it from the third saint. Saint! Lu Qing's heart stirred upon hearing this. Was this one of the three mysterious saints from the Holy Mountain? Just then, in his field of vision, golden light of superpower emanated from the man in white, and several lines of text slowly appeared. By Qingfeng, the third saint of the Holy Mountain, rigid in character, domineering in approach. Cultivation, foundation establishment peak. Recognized by the will of the Holy Mountain by chance, greatly strengthening his power within its bounds, comparable to golden core. The person in front is not his true body but a puppet Dharma body, which can exert the full strength of the perfect innate realm. Granted a great fortune by the Holy Mountain's will, the third saint is bound by it, and before his ascension, his true body cannot leave the Holy Mountain area. Puppet Dharma body? Upon reading the information text in his field of view, Lu Qing understood. No wonder he had not detected the arrival of the man in white immediately. The person in front was not a living being, but a puppet Dharma body. And, with the opponent at the peak realm of foundation establishment in soul power cultivation, concealing his aura was naturally effortless. Lu Qing also had some understanding of puppet Dharma bodies. There were related records within the inheritance of the Li Hua sect. In the last cultivation era, there was a sect named Heavenly Puppet Sect that excelled in this field. It was said that their carefully crafted puppet Dharma bodies were not only indistinguishable from real people, but the highest grade among them could even cultivate independently, truly a miraculous feat. However, the self-cultivating puppet Dharma bodies were tremendously precious, rarer even than spiritual artifacts. Even the Heavenly Puppet Sect itself had only managed to create one such body. Moreover, it was said that this puppet Dharma body had been crafted by chance, a lucky accident. Subsequently, they exhausted much effort trying to replicate the success but never succeeded. The puppet Dharma body inhabited by this third saint was clearly not the highest creation of the Heavenly Puppet Sect, but likely some standard model. Saw the third saint. Upon confirming that the person was truly a saint, numerous innate strong people bowed and respected. Those surviving monks from Suspended Mountain even started shouting louder, "Lord Saint, This man is an evil demon. Please execute him swiftly. Yet the third saint did not respond to the crowd's greetings nor the monks' screaming. Instead, he looked at Lu Qing. He spoke lightly. "Give me face. Shall we spare Xianming and his people this time?" Everyone immediately turned to look at Lu Qing. The third saint personally pleading, no one knew how the young man would respond. Joy appeared in Xuanming's eyes. "Is the great saint intervening in my dispute with Suspended Mountain? I've heard that the Holy Mountain only cares about the major trends of the world, never meddling in personal grievances. Could it be that it was merely lip service?" Lu Qing did not respond immediately but posed a question instead. Trouble. Atop the high tower, the tower master of Tianji Building became anxious upon hearing Lu Qing's words. The third saint had a rigid personality, always uncompromising. Lu Qing's questioning would surely offend him. As the tower master of Tianji Building became anxious, he saw, in response to Lu Qing's challenge, the third saint paused briefly. Then he said, "I once owed the abbot of Suspended Mountain a favor. I cannot watch Xianming die here. If you can grant me this favor, then consider that I owe you one." Chapter 442. The third saint's attitude not only surprised a group of martial artists, but also astonished someone like the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master who knew his temperament very well. When had he become so agreeable? Was this still the straightforward and tough third saint they knew? Everyone's gaze once again turned towards Lu Qing. They had all witnessed Lu Qing's previous display of dominance and arrogance. Now that the third saint was adopting such a low posture, they were curious to see if the young man would give him face. Under the scrutiny of many strong figures, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged. "It seems, Saint Master, that you are determined to intervene in my vendetta with Suspended Mountain? For your own good, your talent is indeed astonishing. But the foundation of Suspended Mountain is not something you can fathom. If you completely make them your mortal enemies, you will regret it deeply in the future," the third saint advised. However, upon hearing this, Lu Qing laughed. "What? Does the Saint Master think that what I've incurred with Suspended Mountain so far doesn't count as a mortal enmity?" The third saint glanced at the several corpses of Suspended Mountain elders around him and couldn't help but pause. He looked at the smile on Lu Qing's face and realized, "So you're saying there's no room for discussion? I respect the Saint Master, but I also hope that the Saint Master will uphold the stance of Holy Mountain and not intervene in the grudge between me and Suspended Mountain." Lu Qing spoke earnestly. The surrounding innate realm experts watched Lu Qing in astonishment. Though surprised by his response, they somehow felt it was expected. Given Lu Qing's persistent toughness, it would be abnormal if he had conceded. The third saint quietly observed Lu Qing, and his expression finally turned somewhat grim. "What if I insist on taking them away? Then this junior, though lacking in skill, would only have the opportunity to experience the superior moves of the Saint Master." Lu Qing responded as he gestured with his hand. True Qi surged out, swirling around and drawing the war saber stuck in the ground towards him. This junior is also eager to see just how powerful those with innate perfection truly are. With the war saber in hand, a domineering aura instantly emanated from Lu Qing. The piercing sword intention left every innate strong person's skin tingling and their heart and spirit chilled. In addition to their shock, they felt a sense of trepidation. It seemed that the aura Lu Qing radiated was even more formidable than before. Indeed, it has come to this step. The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master sighed. His premonition had come true. The third saint was forceful, but in his view, Lu Qing's temperament was equally unyielding. The clash of these two was bound to create sparks. "Tower Master, that person in white looks powerful. Could Brother Lu be at a disadvantage?" Ma Gu anxiously asked. Others wore similar expressions of concern. "Don't worry. The third saint is indeed a bit domineering, but he is upright. At most, he will only make young Master Lu suffer a bit, but he will not harm his life." The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master reassured them. "You wish to fight me?" the third saint asked, somewhat surprised. "I would be honored to receive your instruction." The third saint, sensing the battle intent from Lu Qing, fell silent for a moment before he spoke. Fine. It seems I can't take them away without fighting you. However, I'm not accustomed to bullying the weak, so let's do this. I will exchange 3 moves with you. If you can force me to retreat half a step within 3 moves, I will no longer involve myself in this matter. Having said that, his figure disappeared from the rooftop and reappeared in front of monk Shen Ming, standing merely 3 paces from Lu Qing. Then, please forgive this junior for being offensive. Upon seeing the third saint land, Lu Qing's eyes hardened, and his right hand holding the war saber suddenly transformed into a burst of white light. In an instant, countless slashes were unleashed. A violent storm of sword chi swept towards the third saint. The ferocity and speed of his sword chi caused every innate realm expert to pale in fear. Interesting, your mastery of the saber technique realm has indeed truly grasped the essence of will. Looking at the sword chi storm slashed out by Lu Qing, the third saint revealed a look of appreciation. But such a move is useless against me. Facing the oncoming sword chi storm, the third saint didn't even draw a weapon. He simply extended a finger and gently tapped forward. As the third saint's finger pointed out, something shocking happened. The sky full of sword chi unleashed by Lu Qing, as if frozen by space itself, suddenly halted in place, unable to advance an inch. Disperse! After immobilizing the sword chi, the third saint softly uttered a word. The next moment, that sky-reaching storm of sword chi was swept over by an invisible fluctuation, rapidly disintegrating and collapsing, and in the end, completely vanishing. The execution of this move immediately astounded everyone present. All of the innate realm experts watching this scene widened their eyes, almost unable to believe what they saw. They would never have thought that the powerful sword chi storm of Lu Qing would be so easily dispelled by the third saint. Moreover, they couldn't even discern what method the third saint had employed. Witnessing the third saint's ease, all the experts couldn't help but feel a deep reverence. This was the saint, who has impressed the world for hundreds of years, rendering countless sects in awe of the master of the holy mountain. Only a few individuals born in secret lands with extensive knowledge could perceive a trace of the profound mystery. Divine melt heaven and earth, creating a domain naturally. Indeed, the third saint's cultivation realm is inscrutable. The Yangming Taoist, watching the third saint casually neutralize Lu Qing's sword chi, was inwardly amazed. Divine melt heaven and earth. Has the third saint's cultivation reached such a level? No wonder my master always shows appreciation when mentioning these 3 masters of the holy mountain. The eldest disciple from the Cloudwater secret realm also displayed a shocked expression. In a shadowy corner, a trembling dark figure murmured, "Divine melt heaven and earth. How could his divine soul realm be so advanced? Isn't it just that his spiritual artifact has recently revived? A domain?" Lu Qing, seeing his sword chi so easily broken by the third saint, was not surprised. For skilled fighters, streams of sword chi were never the most critical means of attack. He had never expected to be able to force the third saint back with just a storm of sword chi. Instead, he became contemplative as he watched the dissipating sword chi. While the method used by his opponent was mysterious, he felt a sense of familiarity. This was the feeling he got when his master deployed his innovative domain. However, the opponent's mastery of the domain was even more profound than his master's. This enabled him to dissolve his sword chi effortlessly, without a hint of struggle. "How about it, shall we continue?" the third saint asked, having dispersed Lu Qing's sword chi without pursuing further, standing with hands behind his back and speaking indifferently. "Of course, it's rare to exchange blows with a consummate expert like the senior. How could I give up so easily?" Lu Qing responded with a smile. "Then continue your moves, but this time, I won't hold back like before." Seeing that Lu Qing was unwilling to give up, the third saint finally showed a hint of impatience. "Senior, please make your move. I have some experience in preserving my life." Lu Qing was unfazed, his long saber swirling in hand. The next moment, he shattered the ground beneath his feet, his body streaking towards the third saint like lightning. A murderous intent surged from him, reaching for the heavens, and his war saber became like a bolt of lightning, slashing towards the third saint. Faced with Lu Qing's swift strike, the third saint's expression finally shifted slightly. He could feel that the power of Lu Qing's saber was no less than that of a genuinely perfect innate realm master. Merely relying on the move just now, it might be difficult to easily block the saber. After all, the divine soul power he had infused into this puppet Dharma body was limited. Even if he could perform the divine melt heaven and earth technique, the lacking divine soul power still made it challenging to bind Lu Qing's will. Realizing this, the third saint's gaze became somewhat more serious. In his hand, a long sword suddenly appeared. Chapter 443, Desperate Fight, the Shock of the Third Saint Master. The third saint, with his long sword in hand, suddenly became more formidable. Facing Lu Qing's war saber, he thrust out with his sword. As the sword was thrust, the surroundings suddenly changed. Everyone was shocked to discover that the heaven and earth primordial qi around them was completely stirred up, rapidly converging to form a tremendous sword formation that crushed down upon Lu Qing. Invisibly, it seemed as though a giant mountain was hurtling towards Lu Qing. With one sword move, the sky and clouds shifted. The realm of the third saint's swordsmanship was simply unbelievable. Excellent swordsmanship. Facing this move that stirred up the clouds by the third saint, Lu Qing's eyes sparkled. Far from showing any fear on his face, his war saber in hand instead sped up, slicing at the third saint's sword in the blink of an eye. Boom! Saber and sword collided, creating an unimaginable force of impact that exploded violently around both of them. It formed a shockwave spreading out in all directions. If it weren't for the fact that those surrounding them were all innate realm experts, just this move alone would have likely resulted in numerous casualties. During the fierce collision, a figure staggered back more than 10 steps before steadying himself. Who else could it be but Lu Qing? Yet the third saint remained in his original spot, not retreating half a step. He even had spare energy to use the divine melt heaven and earth technique, resolving the blowback of qi behind him and protecting the injured Shen Ming and other monks of the suspended mountain. However, some observant individuals noticed, although the third saint did not retreat, the ground beneath his feet had subtly sunk by several inches. It is no wonder he's the Saint Master. His realm of swordsmanship is indeed unfathomably profound. Every move naturally draws the heaven and earth primordial qi, forming a great force. Although Lu Qing was forced back, his breath was not in disarray, still calm and composed without a trace of injury, and he praised accordingly. His eyes were subtly lighting up as well. The realm of the third saint's swordsmanship allowed him to glimpse a trace of a higher level of usage. Your physical body, after crossing the tribulation, has become so strong? The third saint, seeing Lu Qing as if nothing had happened, was somewhat surprised. He was very aware of the power of his own sword. Except for not using his ultimate move stored up his sleeve, it was almost the strongest strength he could exert in his regular state as a puppet Dharma body. Even the real perfect innate realm experts, facing his move, would not come out unscathed. Lu Qing took his attack head-on, and merely stepping back more than 10 steps without any injuries, made the third saint unable to help but feel a stir in his heart and spirit. Although he knew those capable of causing tribulation clouds must be extraordinary, Lu Qing had only just entered the innate realm, yet he matched his puppet Dharma body strike for strike. The strength of his physical body was perhaps too exaggerated. With this, everyone immediately stirred, disbelievingly turning to look at Lu Qing. Hearing the third saint's implication, that the person who previously triggered the tribulation clouds and crossed the tribulation was not that strange divine soul talisman, but this young man? The Saint Master indeed has keen insight. Lu Qing's mind moved, knowing the other had seen through that the tribulation was his own doing, unlike others who thought his divine soul talisman was the exotic treasure that crossed the tribulation. Seeing that Lu Qing did not deny it, all the innate realm experts stood agape in shock, watching him. It was really him who triggered the tribulation clouds. From a shadowy corner, a black figure also showed an incredulous expression. This kid was the one crossing the tribulation. What kind of monster is he? Everyone was caught in an ineffable shock because of this news. It took a while for anyone to regain their senses. No wonder his strength has improved so much. Even the Vajra pestle couldn't affect him. The Yangming Taoist finally understood why. In just a few days, Lu Qing's strength had surged. The first tribulation crossing since the changes in heaven and earth. No wonder I felt so uneasy before. The senior brother from the Cloud-Water secret realm showed a dawning realization. From the moment the tribulation clouds appeared, he had felt something was amiss. Turns out, the tribulation was not, as everyone thought, due to some exotic treasure, but this mysterious young man before them. He felt fortunate for holding back his junior brothers and sisters earlier from taking action. Otherwise, the tragic state of Xianming and the others might have been their fate. It was you who crossed the tribulation earlier? Among everyone, Xianming was the most incredulous. He never imagined that the person who had caused the tribulation clouds was Lu Qing. If they had known the truth, they would never have provoked Lu Qing. After all, this was the first tribulation crossing since the change in heaven and earth and the resurgence of spiritual energy. Such an extraordinary event, absolutely destined by heaven and earth, was not something their innate realm could meddle with. The first tribulation crossing since the change in heaven and earth is indeed extraordinary, sighed the third saint. Your physical body, after undergoing heavenly tribulation, is stronger than a typical perfect innate realm. Given time, your achievements are immeasurable. I fear we old folks might be surpassed by you. Saint Master flatters me. But the third saint's gaze suddenly sharpened. You've only just crossed the tribulation, not yet fully consolidated. Even if you can surpass us, that would still be only if you can grow smoothly in the future. Right now, with your strength trying to stop me from taking people away, I'm afraid it's still insufficient. Chapter 444. Since it's a contest of 3 moves, and the third move has yet to be made, what makes you so certain, Saint Master, that your junior cannot force you to retreat? Lu Qing said with a faint smile. Good, very good. Indeed, youthful vigor, like a calf unafraid of tigers. Seeing such confidence in Lu Qing, the third saint nodded his head, his gaze becoming icy. If that's the case, then make your third move. Upon saying this, the long sword trembled lightly, and a cool aura arose from within his heart. Everyone witnessing this felt a sudden chill in their hearts. Knowing that Lu Qing had repeatedly shown no deference, it seemed the third saint was truly angered. The next clash was feared to be unlike the previous ones. Then, please be cautious, Saint Master. Lu Qing assumed a starting position but didn't immediately attack. Instead, he closed his eyes slightly, his heart and spirit immersing within his body, sensing finely. This sensing lasted for more than a dozen breaths. Seeing that Lu Qing had maintained his stance for so long without action, at first the crowd found it somewhat strange. However, gradually everyone felt an indescribable chill. For a terrifying aura had suddenly risen around Lu Qing. It felt as if a fearful power was awakening within him, sending shivers down everyone's spine. This youth still had hidden strength? Even the third saint, feeling the aura rising from Lu Qing, began to look more somber. For he realized that the aura being emitted by Lu Qing was giving even him a sense of danger. What did this mean? It meant that Lu Qing was now truly a threat to him. Stimulated by Lu Qing's aura, the third saint's sword also began to slowly gather strength. As Lu Qing's aura became increasingly terrifying, some of the weaker cultivation of the innate realm felt intimidated by his presence and even thought of fleeing. Finally, under the shocked gazes of all, Lu Qing opened his eyes. There was an inexplicable light in his eyes, ghostly and soul-stirring. Saint Master, please. Lu Qing spoke, his voice like jade striking a plate, carrying a unique melody. The third saint's heart grew colder, but his expression remained unchanged. I didn't expect you to have reserves left. Then come. Boom! With that word, Lu Qing's figure instantly disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the third saint. The war saber in his hand, unbeknownst to Wen, had already reached within 3 inches of the third saint's throat. The third saint's pupils suddenly constricted. With his realm of divine soul, he had not been able to react to Lu Qing's speed in that instant and had been so easily approached. Seeing Lu Qing's saber tip about to pierce his throat, without thinking, the third saint tapped the ground and, in an instant, moved backward with explosive speed. At the same time, the divine soul power from his third eye chakra surged out, integrating into the surrounding heaven and earth, manipulating its rules, creating a mysterious force to restrain and squeeze Lu Qing, attempting to limit his speed. This move proved effective. As the restraining force of heaven and earth took hold, Lu Qing's speed slowed significantly. Ultimately, by a hair's breadth, the saber did not pierce the third saint's throat, as he retreated and dodged away. At that moment, the intense sound of whooshing finally arose, reaching everyone's ears. Behind Lu Qing, a long trail of mist appeared. That was due to Lu Qing's physical body breaking the atmosphere at such high speed, creating the phenomenon. This scene shocked all the spectators, not only because of the superhuman speed Lu Qing had shown. More importantly, they saw that the third saint had retreated. This was the first time since the third saint appeared that he had been forced back by Lu Qing. And according to the agreement between him and Lu Qing, once he retreated, he could no longer prevent Lu Qing from slaying Shenming. In other words, the bet between the two, Lu Qing had won. Fear flashed in Xuanming's eyes. However, just when everyone thought the battle was over, Lu Qing showed no intention of stopping his attack. Despite the continuous pressure from the heaven and earth power around him, his gaze sharpened, and with a jolt throughout his body, he instantly shook off all restraints and regained full control over his physical body. Then, with a stomp, his powerful force tore the ground asunder, distorting it out of shape, as he once again broke through the air and chased after the retreating third saint. However, the third saint, who had just managed to catch his breath, also reacted. Divine soul power surged forth once more, merging with the surroundings and leveraging the heaven and earth power to restrain Lu Qing. At the same time, the long sword in his hand stirred the storm, mobilizing the heaven and earth primordial chi from within tens of meters to strike at Lu Qing. This time, the third saint held nothing back, exerting his full strength in a clash with Lu Qing. After sensing the terrifying might of Lu Qing's previous strike, he understood. If he held back any longer, he would lose this battle. Defeated by a youngster who had just entered the innate realm? Even if that person could summon tribulation clouds, the third saint could not tolerate such an outcome. At this moment, he cast aside thoughts of Suspended Mountain and Shenming, as his pride as a saint master did not allow for defeat here. In the piercing gaze of the third saint, his long sword precisely touched the edge of Lu Qing's war saber. Boom! At the collision of saber and sword, the overwhelming force caused another explosion in the atmosphere. The shockwave this time was many times more powerful than before, stirring up once more. As it raised a cloud of dust, it shook everything in the vicinity to pieces. After the clash, Lu Qing and the third saint instantly parted from the impact, each retreating over a dozen steps. In this exchange, the two were evenly matched. However, the moment they retreated was brief. The next instant, they simultaneously charged at each other, engaging in fierce combat once again. This time, the confrontation turned into a complete entanglement. Sword and saber clashed continuously, and the mighty rumbling raised countless waves of sword chi and saber chi, shooting out in all directions. While piercing the earth, these also sheared everything around them. Look out, retreat! The innate realm experts watching the battle changed color and hastily retreated. Only after falling back over 100 meters did they stop, watching the scene before them with hearts still pounding. Meanwhile, at the epicenter of the blast, Lu Qing and the third saint were thoroughly engaged in their fight. Wherever they went, almost nothing could withstand the sharpness of their erupting combat. Is this really a struggle between innate realm cultivators? One of the innate realm experts, feeling the potency of their battle, spoke with a trembling voice. Do you really think that these two can be considered normal innate realm cultivators? His companion looked at him with some speechlessness. That innate realm expert immediately fell silent. Others who overheard their conversation also lapsed into silence. Indeed, neither of the battling individuals could be viewed as ordinary innate realm cultivators. Not to mention the third saint, the three Saint Masters of Holy Mountain have always been enigmatic and beyond normal innate realm measures. There were even speculations that the true realms of the Saint Masters had long exceeded that of the innate realm. After all, individuals in the innate realm typically live for several centuries at most. Yet the eldest of the Saint Masters had already lived for over 1,000 years. Even the third saint, though not as old, had lived for 300 to 400 years, significantly older than the eldest innate realm cultivator. And as for Lu Qing, there was no need to mention. The first tribulation crossing after the changes of heaven and earth. That title alone was enough to highlight the anomaly that he was. Understanding this was one thing, but feeling the might emanating from their clash. Everyone's hearts were filled with complex emotions. They all cultivated, yet the gap between them and these fighters was simply too wide. Boom! While the observing experts were caught in their complex moods, the battle between Lu Qing and the third saint finally shifted. Amidst the storm of dust and debris, a figure suddenly flew out, smashing through a house. Chapter 445. Outcome decided, looting the corpse, Demon Shadow appears. Has the winner been determined? Who won? Seeing that figure flying out and smashing into a house, everyone gasped in shock. Unfortunately, the dust made it impossible for them to see who exactly had been thrown. When the dust finally settled and revealed the scene, everyone's eyes widened in astonishment. Only to see Lu Qing standing calmly at the center, while the third saint stood amid the collapsed house, a conspicuous saber mark on his chest emitting threads of silver light. Who knew what kind of mysterious inner armor he was wearing? The third saint, lost. As everyone stared at the saber mark on the third saint's chest, their eyes widened. They never expected such an outcome. Lu Qing and the third saint stood opposite each other, neither speaking. After a long silence, the third saint finally spoke slowly. There was a hint of disbelief in his tone. How has your power grown so tremendously? The third saint truly couldn't understand. Lu Qing was only in the initial innate realm, so why did his power keep exploding as if there was no limit? Even though he was capable of triggering the tribulation cloud, it was still too illogical. After all, he was only in the initial innate realm. Even having gone through the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, it shouldn't make him this powerful. Yet, during the fight with Lu Qing, he felt that Lu Qing's power was astonishingly strong. Especially the strength of his physical body, which was incredibly formidable. It even completely suppressed his puppet Dharma body, made from countless precious materials. It's merely a secret technique of cultivation that is a bit mysterious that I practiced. I've made the Saint Master laugh, said Lu Qing indifferently. What about now, Saint Master? Shall we continue to fight? Hearing this, the third saint knew Lu Qing did not wish to reveal his secrets. He wasn't surprised. After all, no one would willingly disclose their cultivation secrets to others. He looked around and shook his head. There's no need, since you were able to injure me, you have won this battle. However, there is one thing I would like to warn you about. Xuanming's status in Suspended Mountain is not ordinary. If you really intend to kill him, be prepared to face the wrath of Suspended Mountain. With that, the third saint's figure suddenly soared, lightly tapping atop several houses, then drifting away and finally disappearing. He no longer cared about the remaining people of Suspended Mountain. Seeing the third saint leave so decisively, Lu Qing raised an eyebrow. He gained some understanding of this person's nature. As for the warning given by the other party before leaving, he did not take it to heart. At this point, the feud between him and Suspended Mountain was already irreconcilable. Not to mention Xuanming's unusual status, even if the master of Suspended Mountain was here, he would dare to slay him. Standing there silently, Lu Qing's mind was unknowable, but no one dared to disturb him at this moment. After a while, Lu Qing turned around and slowly approached Shen Ming, who was still half buried in the ground. Ironically, Xianming was quite lucky. During the clash between Lu Qing and the third saint, many powerful sword and saber chi had burst out. Most did not hit Xianming, and even the occasional few that did were blocked by the red kasaya he wore. However, the other monks of Suspended Mountain were not so lucky. Most had died in the aftermath of the clashes between the two. This was one of the reasons why the third saint left immediately, because some of the Suspended Mountain monks had also died at his hands. At this moment, Xuanming's face was ashen. When the third saint left, he knew he was doomed. So when Lu Qing approached, he did not beg for mercy but just stared at him with a resentful expression. "Evil demon, don't be smug. One day, my Suspended Mountain will avenge us and eliminate you." This demon. Lu Qing said nothing, his face expressionless as he lightly swung his war saber. The red kasaya on Xuanming's body flashed with a layer of red light again, but it was useless. Couldn't block the war saber at all and was easily cut through. The next moment, a head flew up, and the high monk Xianming of Suspended Mountain was slain. After killing Xianming, Lu Qing lightly stepped on the ground, causing it to shake and eject Xuanming's corpse. Then, with a quick swipe of his long saber, he picked up the red kasaya from Xuanming's body and began to search it. In front of many experts, he was conducting a search on the corpse. The innate realm experts around him couldn't help but twitch their eyelids. They did not expect Lu Qing to disregard the dignity of a high-level expert so. Some who were harboring ulterior motives were even more disappointed. After the earlier display, everyone knew that the red kasaya on Xuanming's body was a rare treasure. Not only did it automatically protect the wearer with treasure light, but its material could even resist the cleaving of Lu Qing's long saber. They had been thinking about possibly fishing in troubled waters once Lu Qing left. But they did not expect Lu Qing to disregard his status so blatantly and search the body. However, even though Lu Qing's actions lacked the demeanor of a high-level expert, no one dared to comment. Even experts from the secret land like Yangming Daoist remained silent. After all, this was someone who had just defeated the third saint in direct combat. Regardless of whether he relied on secret techniques or other means, with just this achievement alone, Lu Qing had already qualified to be among the top experts in the world. Chapter 446. At the very least, all the experts present were no match for the long sword in his hand. After searching the corpses of Xianming and several other Suspended Mountain elders, Lu Qing acquired quite a few items. Among them, he valued the red kasaya, the golden bowl, and a white jade bottle with a strange aura the most. Using the red kasaya, he wrapped up all his treasures and walked out unhurriedly. From beginning to end, he didn't say a word to anyone else. And none of the innate realm experts present dared to stop him. After what had happened before, everyone knew this young man was extremely proud, and no one wanted to rashly provoke his ire. Just like that, Lu Qing continued on his way out. Suddenly, he stopped in front of a certain wall, looking curiously at a dark corner. The shadowy figure in the corner had a sudden surge of panic. Has he discovered me? Impossible. Even someone at the Foundation establishment stage would find it difficult to detect my concealment method, let alone a mere innate realm youngster. However, seeing Lu Qing continue staring in that direction, the unease in the shadow's heart only grew. Finally, he saw a look of realization flash across Lu Qing's face. I knew it. Ever since earlier, I felt something was spying on me. So it was you. He really has detected me. The shadow was shocked, now fully aware that he had been exposed. He didn't have time to ponder how Lu Qing had discovered him because a fierce sword chi was already slashing his way. Boom! With Lu Qing's current cultivation level, even a single sword chi was tremendously powerful. In an instant, the corner was shattered, and a figure in a black robe was forced out. What's going on? Who is that person? How has someone been lurking there all this time without us noticing? It's one of those from the demon path. This sudden turn of events startled all the innate strong people once again, especially when they saw Lu Qing's casual sword chi force out an eerily black-robed figure, shocking them even more. Only Yangming Taoist, after sensing the black-robe figure's aura, a fierce light suddenly burst from his eyes. He immediately shouted, "Young Master Lu, that's a man from the demon path. Don't let him escape." And with that, he also lunged forward. A man from the demon path. At these words, everyone was suddenly shocked and alarmed, turning their attention to the black-robed shadow already fleeing. And at this sight, everyone was struck again. Such a fast movement technique. The black-robed figure, leaving behind multiple afterimages, moved extremely fast, making some among the present innate realm experts, known for their movement skills, feel hopelessly outpaced. Can you really escape? After forcing out the shadow, Lu Qing recognized this person as the same one who had been secretly watching them on the street days before, and also the origin of Hu Zheji's troubles. Without a second thought, he sent out another sword qi, slashing towards the black-robed figure, and with one step he burst forth to pursue. No matter how fast the black-robed figure was, he couldn't outrun the speed of the sword qi. In an instant, Lu Qing's sword qi caught up to him. Sensing the terrifying force within the sword qi, a hint of apprehension flashed in the black-robed figure's eyes. He knew that with Lu Qing's strength, if he got caught, he would surely fall right there. After all, even though he had entered the innate realm, his demon body was not yet perfected, and his true strength was, at best, equivalent to a normal person at the great success of innate realm. Facing Lu Qing, a devil who could even defeat the Saint Master, he would certainly not be a match. With this thought, the black-robed figure knew there could be no holding back. Otherwise, he might really fall here. He bit down and let the demonic qi within his body surge. His form quivered and suddenly split into 3 images. Just as Lu Qing's sword qi arrived, he narrowly dodged it. Lu Qing, seeing his opponent's movement technique was so strangely exquisite, didn't hesitate to send out dozens more sword lights, sweeping them towards the target. This time, Lu Qing's sword qi was enormous, covering a wide range, blanketing the black-robed figure within 10 feet, leaving no room for escape even if he were to split into 10 images. Damn it! The black-robed figure felt the approaching aura of death and his eyes turned a violent red. Knowing he had to fight for his life, he ran his demonic qi wildly. Boom! Right when Lu Qing's sword qi was about to splinter the black-robed figure, a thick blood mist suddenly burst out from him. Not only did it block the surrounding sword qis, but it also increased his speed more than tenfold. In a flash, he escaped from the reach of Lu Qing's sword qi, quickly fleeing to the end of the street and vanishing from Lu Qing's sight, leaving behind only some odds and ends and a resentful voice lingering in the air above the street. Kid, remember this. If I don't avenge this, I don't deserve to be a demon. What? This turn of events also took Lu Qing by surprise. He hadn't expected the opponent to have such a mysterious secret technique, capable of such explosive speed all of a sudden, not even giving him a chance to catch up. However, the price the opponent paid for using the secret technique seemed significant. In a fleeting glance, he saw not only the blood mist bursting from the opponent's body, but also an arm ripped open. It was evident that the black-robed figure had used some kind of self-harming secret technique to gain power. Chapter 447. But the speed was indeed astonishing, and unless he used divine skills again, there was no chance of catching up with the other. However, today he had already used divine skills once, and to use them again would place too great a strain on his body, possibly damaging his foundation. After some deliberation, Lu Qing ultimately did not pursue. Regrettably, the time had been too short. When he used superpower to probe the identity of the black-robed man, he hadn't been able to obtain any information immediately. It goes without saying that the pursuer must be extraordinary. Having decided not to pursue, Lu Qing's attention was on the left-behind items of the black-robed man, to see if any clues could be gleaned from them. Suddenly, his eyes twitched as he noticed a small and conspicuous ink jade bottle among the items. Feeling the strange aura emanating from the ink jade bottle, Lu Qing was moved. He quietly picked it up with the tip of his knife and stealthily slipped it into his Chenkuan Qi bag. Damn it! This evil demon is really extraordinary. To think it even understands the method of heavenly demon disintegration. At this time, Yangming Taoist finally reached Lu Qing's side, looking in the direction where the black-robed man had fled, with an ashen face.
Heavenly Demon Disintégration Technique.
Lu Qing's expression flickered as he turned to look. Young Master might not know, this Heavenly Demon Disintegration Technique is one of the most profound escape techniques of those on the demon path. Only those who have cultivated the most pure demon path energy can learn it. This demon managing to use it must certainly be from the most orthodox of the demon path. It's a pity that it got away. Yangming Taoist explained. I apologize, it was the junior's oversight. Lu Qing said with a look of regret. Young Master needn't blame himself. Who would have thought that this demon would know the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Technique? Once this technique is used, be it defense or speed, both can increase tenfold. It's normal for the young master to not be able to detain him. Upon hearing Lu Qing's apology, Yangming Taoist instead offered him comfort. Moreover, the use of the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Technique comes at a great cost. This demon must surely be severely injured in primordial qi, and I fear it will not dare to show itself again for several years. Lu Qing remembered the scene where the black-robed figure's arm had exploded, and silently nodded. The cost was indeed not small. If I encounter it again, I will definitely not let this demon have another chance to escape. Haha, that I certainly believe. Young Master, you are the first person to overcome the heavenly tribulation since the changes in heaven and earth, and your future achievements are surely limitless. A mere little demon is no match for you. Yangming Taoist laughed heartily, lavishing praise on Lu Qing. In response, Lu Qing could only modestly say, Senior overpraises. There's no such thing as overpraise. Yangming Taoist said heartily, By the way, my name is Yang Ming, from Qingyang Temple. If Young Master has time in the future, you are welcome to visit us at Qingyang Temple. You've dealt a heavy blow to the pride of Suspended Mountain this time. Our temple master will surely like you very much. Senior Yang Ming, I must also thank you for your earlier warning, which allowed me to be on guard. Seeing that Yangming Taoist seemed inclined to befriend him, Lu Qing went with the flow and started a conversation with him. After all, the other person was from Qingyang Temple, one of the 4 great secret places with profound heritage. If he could form a connection with them, it would also be beneficial for him. Moreover, from Yang Ming's tone, it seemed that they didn't get along well with Suspended Mountain either. Adhering to the principle that the enemy of an enemy is a friend, Lu Qing didn't mind making temporary contact with the other party. Chapter 448. The Unlucky Black-Robed Man Dispelling Doom. As Lu Qing and the Yangming Taoist conversed, outside the holy city, in a certain forest, a black figure suddenly appeared and fell to the ground, crashing into some underbrush. At this moment, the black-robed man looked very pitiful. Not only had he lost an arm, but his black robe was also torn and tattered, revealing blood-stained skin and flesh that had dissolved away. However, the black-robed man had no time to care about his own injuries, and he immediately began checking the items on his body. Very quickly, his face turned an ashen color, because he realized that the ink jade bottle, which had been securely in his embrace and contained origin energy, had vanished. Clearly, it had been blown away while he had performed the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Technique. Damn it! It must have been taken by that boy. At this, the black-robed man felt such pain that it seemed as though his divine soul was being squeezed. That was the origin energy of the world, an immensely precious and elusive grand opportunity. Initially, with those 3 doses of origin energy, not only could his supreme demon body be preliminarily cultivated, but he could also completely resolve the inherent risks of a reincarnator by utilizing the Tao melody contained within it. He could have integrated better into this world, without having to fret about being targeted by the will of the heavenly Tao in the future. But now everything was lost. The black-robed man's face twisted, a powerful impulse arising in his heart to return to the holy city and reclaim his origin energy. But ultimately, reason suppressed this crazed thought. That boy was far too evil, already able to summon tribulation clouds even though the heaven and earth rules had just begun their preliminary evolution. Furthermore, crossing the tribulation with 9 tribulation thunders at once, and without showing any sign of weakness afterward. Such a devilish prodigy, even in his homeland, the vast immortal demon Great World, was considered an absolute genius of the highest Tao seed level among all the top immortal demon sects. Unexpectedly, he had encountered one in this small, remote world where the spiritual energy had just begun to recover. Such devilish talents, typically capable of dominating an era, was beyond what he could handle, especially without a matured demon body. With a monumental exertion of the will, after a long internal struggle, the black-robed man finally suppressed his impulse and regained his composure. "You just wait, boy. One day, I will retrieve everything that is mine." Casting a deep look in the direction of the holy city, the black-robed man finally used his movement technique, staggering toward the deeper parts of the forest. When he left, his heart ached tremendously. This visit to the holy city had been a severe loss for him. Not only had the grand opportunity that had just come into his grasp flown away, but his physical body had also been severely damaged due to employing the heavenly demon disintegration technique. The day when he could refine his demon body now seemed even further out of reach. It seems I must revert to my original methods, capturing several geniuses to absorb and restore my foundation. Moreover, some of the origin energy that spewed from that white vortex has flown towards various parts of the world. Perhaps there's still a chance to find one or two. Young Master Lu, this jade token is for you. Should you visit the West State in the future, you may carry this jade token to Qingyang Mountain, where you will naturally be welcomed to visit our Qingyang Temple. Our temple master is always kind, particularly to exceptional young successors. He would surely be delighted to see you. In the area of Tianji Building, Yangming Taoist and Lu Qing got along very well. Finally, he presented a white jade token, engraved with strange runes, to Lu Qing. "Good, once I am done with my affairs and have some free time, I shall surely come to visit." Lu Qing, recognizing the pattern on the jade token, understood it to be similar to one previously given to his master by Lin Zhirue, possessing unique functions. He accepted the jade token without demur and politely thanked him. Seeing that Lu Qing did not refuse, Yangming Taoist smiled. However, his expression soon turned solemn. "Young Master Lu, although you are exceptionally talented and peerless in the world, there is something I must advise you on." "Please elucidate," Lu Qing said, his expression becoming more serious. "Xuanming's identity is not ordinary. He is the direct disciple of the abbot of Suspended Mountain. Having killed him, Suspended Mountain will certainly not let matters rest. Now that the heaven and earth have changed and rules have evolved to near completion, the constraints on those above the innate are much lighter. The lineage of Suspended Mountain has always been famously narrow-minded. Although that abbot won't come out now, it's hard to guarantee that he won't send stronger protectors from the temple to cause you trouble. So, once these matters are settled, young Master Lu, it might be better to find a place to lay low for a while. You were the first tribulation crosser since the change of heaven and earth, laden with thick fate, and normal divination techniques cannot discern your destiny. As long as you can stay hidden, even Suspended Mountain will find it difficult to trace." Looking at Yangming Taoist's sincere expression, although Lu Qing felt unafraid, he was somewhat grateful. He nodded and said, "Thank you for your advice, Senior. Once I settle the matters at hand, I will leave the holy city to avoid Suspended Mountain's people." "That's good. Be careful in all things, and should you encounter something you cannot handle, you may come to the West State. That is the domain of our Qingyang Temple, and Suspended Mountain's reach does not extend that far. Well, we must also take our leave now, young Master Lu, until we meet again." After admonishing Lu Qing, the Yangming Taoist returned to his original position and left with his disciples. Chapter 449. This time in the Holy City, too many things had happened. Whether it was the existence of origin energy or the appearance of individuals from the demon path, he must rush back to report as soon as possible. Especially regarding Lu Qing, the exceptional individual, that was of utmost importance. Watching as the Yangming Taoist and others left hastily until they were out of sight, Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and walked toward the direction of the tower. Other innate realm experts naturally also wanted to make his acquaintance. But when they thought about how Lu Qing had killed Shen Ming and others, having completely offended the lineage of Suspended Mountain, who knew what kind of reaction Suspended Mountain would have afterwards? Making connections with Lu Qing now, if by chance they were to be held in grudge by Suspended Mountain, would it not be a loss that outweighed the gain? Thinking of those experts who had originally wanted to befriend Lu Qing immediately suppressed their thoughts. They could only watch as Lu Qing slowly walked away. Brother! Just as Lu Qing entered the tower, he saw a small figure throwing herself at him. He extended his hand to catch her and felt little Yan's body trembling lightly, her head buried in his embrace, not willing to look up. It's okay now. Isn't your brother still here and well? Lu Qing gently patted the little one's back, consoling her in a soft voice. Brother. Little Yan was very scared just now. Little Yan's head remained buried in Lu Qing's embrace for a long time before she muffledly spoke. Her voice carried a hint of crying. As for what she was afraid of, it went without saying. Lu Qing's hand paused slightly before once again, soothingly stroking the little one's back. He said in a gentle voice, "This time it was an accident. Brother promises you, from now on, he won't do such dangerous things anymore. Okay? Then let's pinky swear." Little Yan's head still didn't rise. Okay, pinky swear. After the siblings completed their pinky swear, Little Yan finally broke into a smile through her tears. Seeing that Lu Qing had comforted Little Yan, the others then came forward. The first thing Lu Qing did was to bow in apology to the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master. Tower Master, I was careless for a moment and destroyed the courtyard. Please forgive me. All the losses, I will compensate double. Haha, it's just a mere courtyard. What's the harm if it's destroyed? The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master's face showed no sign of anger. He even chuckled. Rather, young master, you have allowed us to witness the extraordinary phenomenon of a heavenly tribulation. Frankly, I feel I have benefited. The words of the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master were not a mere courtesy but came from the heart. Being able to witness the legendary tribulation clouds up close and feel the tribulation chi within, for a cultivator like him who pursued the path of calculation and divination, it was an enormous opportunity. After all, the way of divination excels in calculating all things, avoiding tribulations, seeking benefits and averting harms. And heavenly tribulation was regarded as one of the most formidable tribulations between heaven and earth, related to the operation of the heaven and earth rules. The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master had observed Lu Qing crossing the tribulation from beginning to end and sensed a trace of the genuine operation of the heavenly mechanisms. It had greatly benefited him, and he even faintly felt as if the realm of cultivation that he had not broken through for a long time also showed a slight sign of movement. How could he possibly blame Lu Qing in such a case? After hearing the explanation from the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master, Lu Qing was finally able to relax a bit. However, he still decided that when he left, he would leave something behind to compensate the Tianji building. You all wait here for a while. I need to go out and handle the situation outside. The tribulation that Lu Qing had undergone had caused no small disturbance. In addition to that, all the people from Suspended Mountain had died here. If it was not handled properly, even the Tianji building would have a lot of troubles. Immediately, the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master asked Lu Qing and the others to hide in the tower first while he went out to handle the aftermath. After the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master left, Lu Qing then said to the Elder Doctor, "Master, your unworthy disciple has caused you concern." Previously, Lu Qing had sensed that if it weren't for the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master's intervention, his master had almost been unable to restrain himself several times, wanting to show up to protect him. "It's good that you're unharmed." The Elder Doctor nodded, not saying much more. On the other hand, Ma Gu and Wei Zian, with excited faces, gathered around Lu Qing, discussing the shock and concern they had felt in their hearts just now. As for Hu Ziji, she stood quietly to the side, smiling as she watched Lu Qing and the others. Lu Qing and his disciple Ma Gu chatted. When his gaze fell on Hu Ziji, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Master, Mr. Ji Rui, look at the black energy on Miss Hu's forehead. The elder doctor and Lin Jirue both looked towards Hu Zheji's forehead and were also taken aback. It turned out that, unbeknownst to them, the dark energy between Hu Zheji's eyebrows had already disappeared. Mr. Lu, could it be that the dark energy on my body has become even more intense? Seeing the three of them looking at her, Hu Zheji suddenly became somewhat panicked.
No.
Lu Qing noticed her flustered appearance and said hurriedly, "It's the cluster of dark energy between your eyebrows that has completely vanished." Vanished? Hu Zheji said, hardly daring to believe it. "It has indeed vanished," the elder doctor confirmed with a nod. "But why? What exactly is Miss Hu's tribulation, and how could it have been resolved out of the blue?" Lin Jirue asked, puzzled. Lu Qing thought of the black-robed man who had fled earlier and suddenly had an epiphany. He slowly said, "I suspect that Miss Hu's tribulation comes from two sources." Everyone turned to look at him. Lu Qing continued, "The first is the opportunity from within the white vortex. The opportunity that emerged from the vortex seeks out those with whom it has destiny. But although it is an opportunity, it is also a calamity. If one lacks sufficient strength, even with the opportunity in hand, it will certainly not be secure. It is even possible to attract the covetous looks of others, inviting a fatal disaster." Everyone thought of the scene when the opportunity had just landed in their courtyard, and more than 10 innate realm experts stormed in, and they nodded in agreement. If not for the strength of Lu Qing and the elder doctor at that time, it was not hard to imagine the fate of Hu Zheji. Hu Zheji, in particular, turned even paler. "And the other?" Lin Jirue asked. "The other is likely the mysterious black-robed man whom I injured just now," Lu Qing said. "I had seen him before. The last time we went to the heavenly ladder to watch the excitement, I felt his presence. But he was very cautious, and once he realized something was amiss, he immediately fled. However, he was persistent, lurking nearby and observing us. Looking back now, the person he was monitoring was probably Miss Hu, because the aura on his body is very similar to the dark energy that was between Miss Hu's eyebrows. So you are saying that now, because you are here, no one dares to covet the opportunity on Miss Hu's person. And with the black-robed man severely injured by you and fled far away, he isn't able to threaten Miss Hu. Thus her tribulation has been completely resolved." Lin Jirue analyzed thoughtfully. "I can't be completely certain of this, but there is probably a 70 to 80% chance," Lu Qing said. Hearing this, Hu Zheji felt a relief in her heart, and her gaze towards Lu Qing was filled with immense gratitude. "I heard the senior from Qingyang Temple calling out earlier that the black-robed man belongs to the demon Dao, didn't I?" Lin Jirue asked. "That's right. The senior Yang Ming also said that the man cultivates the most authentic demon Dao techniques and the demonic aura he emits is extremely pure." Lu Qing nodded. "First the emergence of Wujin building, and now the reappearance of those from the demon path in the human realm. It seems that my master didn't miscalculate. The changes of the heavens and earth aren't just reviving the spiritual energy. All sorts of demons and demonic entities are reviving as well. I'm afraid that peace won't last long in this world." Lin Jirue sighed, a worried expression appearing on his face. "Given that the situation is such and considering it's a necessary occurrence for the revival of the heavens and earth, Mr. Jirue, why worry excessively? In the end, it's just a matter of meeting the enemy with resistance and stemming the tide with defenses. No matter how many demons there may be, as long as the blades in our hands remain sharp, why should we fear the waves they stir?" Lu Qing said with a smile. Lin Jirue's spirit was shaken, and he looked towards Lu Qing. Seeing his confident smile, he suddenly came to a realization. He said, "That's right, I was overthinking it. No matter how many demons there are, for us cultivators, the swords in our hands aren't just for show. At most we will just follow in the footsteps of our predecessors, slaying demons and eradicating evil, and eliminate those from the demon Dao once more." Chapter 450, Sorting Out Gains, Rebirth, 2 Divine Skills. At night, Lu Qing sat cross-legged on the bed, closing his eyes to concentrate. After enduring the heavenly tribulation during the day, he had stayed in the high tower with his master and the others, without going out again. It was only at dusk, after the Tianji building had tidied up the mess outside, that they were arranged by Lin Jirue to move into a new courtyard. By this time, little Yen had already fallen asleep on the small bed beside him. As for little Li, since absorbing that strand of origin energy, it had been in a deep slumber. Even the commotion from Lu Qing crossing the tribulation wasn't enough to awaken it. If Lu Qing hadn't used his superpower to check and known that it was in a critical metamorphosis, he would have worried that something had gone awry. It wasn't until little Li was safe that Lu Qing put his mind at ease and began to concentrate and sense his own body. At this moment, turbulent and surging qi blood was coursing incessantly through his blood vessels. Each inch of flesh contained an extremely powerful force. His internal organs were full of vigorous essence and alive with life energy. Within his Dantian acupoint, already transformed into a sea of qi, rolled the majestic innate true qi. This was a physical body that could be called perfect. During the daytime when I crossed the tribulation, the 9 tribulation thunders not only completely refined the postnatal impurities in my body, condensing an innate body, but also completely integrated that strand of world origin energy into my body. Now, in terms of the strength of the physical body alone, even someone at innate perfection would likely be far inferior to me. Lu Qing felt the condition within his body and thoughts flowed through his mind. This insight wasn't unfounded. During his battle with the Third Saint's puppet Dharma body, sheer physical strength alone had been enough to suppress his opponent. It was only because the opponent's realm was 2 levels higher than his and he was much more adept at manipulating the heaven and earth primordial qi that they had fought to a draw. It should be known, according to the heritages of the Li Hua sect, even the most basic puppet Dharma body was made of many precious materials. Such a puppet Dharma body, generally known for its astonishing strength, far surpasses cultivators of the same level. Even the strength of an innate perfect-level puppet Dharma body was inferior to Lu Qing, which speaks to the current strength of his physical body. Moreover, Lu Qing also felt that this was just the beginning. The baptismal cleansing of heavenly tribulation, combined with the integration of origin energy, gave his current body infinite potential. Next, as long as he practiced cultivation step by step, the strength of his physical body would enter a rapid period of growth. After all, he was only just entering the innate realm. The distance to reach its limits was still very far. Besides the strength of the physical body, there is also the divine soul power. Lu Qing's heart and spirit then immersed in the acupoint between his eyebrows. At this time, the space in the acupoint between his eyebrows had changed greatly, not only becoming larger and more resilient. Around the edges, there were strands of purple meaning that seemed quite mystical. In the center, a purple divine soul talisman with a grand and majestic aura stood upright, dominating the entire acupoint space. Lu Qing first sensed the purple meaning at the space's edge but couldn't quite understand it, only feeling that it contained some sort of strange aura. Yet with his current realm, he couldn't comprehend it deeply. It seems that the acupoint space between my eyebrows has undergone some sort of mutation, but this mutation should be in a good direction. Unable to grasp its meaning, Lu Qing temporarily disregarded the purple meaning, and instead focused his spirit on the divine soul talisman in the center. This time crossing the tribulation, what Lu Qing transformed was not just the physical body, but also the divine soul power. The divine soul power, having been cleansed by heavenly tribulation, rid of yin energy, turned from yin to yang, from postnatal to innate, undergoing an essential transformation. This was also why he was able to transmit his voice to his master across hundreds of meters under the suppression of the holy city. Now, his divine soul power was much stronger than before the heavenly tribulation. Especially the divine soul talisman, having survived the cleansing of the heavenly thunders without destruction, was now filled with majesty. It not only greatly enhanced its support for the space in the acupoint between the eyebrows, allowing him to control himself more effortlessly, but it also allowed him to enter a whole new realm in his understanding of runes. Lu Qing reached out his hand. A point of light appeared, and the surrounding heaven and earth primordial qi quickly gathered. Soon, a primordial energy talisman, earth element talisman, was condensed. Indeed, after stepping into the innate realm, Lu Qing could easily condense basic magic talismans like the earth element talisman. Without needing complicated sealing gestures, he could condense it with a single thought. Feeling the fluctuation of qi in the magic talisman in his hand, Lu Qing suddenly clenched his palm and scattered it. Then, with a slight movement of his mind, another point of light appeared in his hand. However, this time the light was drawing upon not the heaven and earth primordial qi, but rather a deeper layer of space's elusive and more potent spiritual energy. This time, without any sealing, the convergence of spiritual energy was much slower than the previous primordial qi. After dozens of breaths, a spiritual energy talisman, earth element talisman, was finally condensed by Lu Qing. However, an earth element talisman, condensed from spiritual energy, was much more powerful than one condensed from heaven and earth primordial qi. Indeed, there is a significant difference in power between primordial energy talismans and spiritual energy talismans. It was only when spiritual energy was depleted that the divine talisman sect was forced to replace it with primordial qi. However, the difficulty in condensing primordial qi talismans is much lower. Chapter 451. Generally, cultivators of the rune path can condense them out during the postnatal realm. But to condense a spiritual energy talisman, one must wait until the divine soul talisman transitions from yin to yang and steps into the yang talisman realm before it becomes possible. Lu Qing stretched out his other hand and condensed a primordial qi, earth element talisman. He placed the two magic talismans side by side for comparison, sensing the differences between them. It didn't take long for him to discern the advantages and disadvantages of the two. In terms of sheer power, the spiritual energy talisman was certainly much stronger than the primordial qi talisman. But the primordial qi talisman had its own advantages. That is, its difficulty to condense was lower, and even those still in the yin talisman realm of the postnatal realm could condense it. Moreover, the primordial qi talisman was not subject to environmental restrictions. It could be used even in an era when spiritual energy was depleted. After all things in heaven and earth are composed of primordial qi. If one couldn't even make use of heaven and earth primordial qi, that would mean the true end of the law era had arrived. Now, although the spiritual energy has recovered, it does not interfere with heaven and earth primordial qi, existing in a higher plane of space. Only those cultivators who have developed divine soul power can vaguely sense its existence. However, sensing it and being able to utilize it are two different things. Cultivators must peel the spiritual energy from the high-level space to absorb it into their bodies. This requires very strong divine soul power to achieve. And even if one can absorb the spiritual energy into the body, how to refine it into one's own spiritual power, that's another very precise process that requires a unique technique to achieve. After breaking through the heaven and earth bridge and stepping into the innate realm, clearly touching upon heaven and earth primordial qi and spiritual energy for the first time, Lu Qing gained a deeper understanding of the differences between the two. He also understood why so many in the innate realm, who went to the holy mountain to comprehend cultivation techniques, made little progress in refining spiritual energy into spiritual power. Just this first step, how to peel spiritual energy from the space for energy induction, is not so easy. One must possess strong divine soul power and a certain understanding of heaven and earth rules in order to achieve it. It can be said that more than 99% of those in the initial innate realm are trapped in this step. Even the strong who have reached innate minor achievement find it difficult to do so. Probably only the most exceptional martial artists who have reached innate great success and above can have some hope. Unless one has innate exceptional talent like the master, who could comprehend a hint of the domain realm even in the initial innate realm, and by the time of innate minor achievement has already perceived a complete domain, a rare genius. One with a profound understanding of the operation of space rules of heaven and earth can easily overcome this first step. But how many such peerless geniuses like the master exist in the world? That's why there were so many in the innate realm who went to the holy mountain to study in these days, yet few could penetrate the mysteries and cultivate spiritual power. The time is too short. I'm afraid it will take some more days before strong cultivators gradually grasp the key and make breakthroughs. Streams of insights flowed through his mind, and Lu Qing gained an additional understanding of the current situation in the world. Although not many people in the world can truly refine spiritual energy and cultivate spiritual power now, once everyone has a deep enough understanding of the rules of heaven and earth in the future, the strong across the world will surely start a wave of breakthroughs. After all, those who can cultivate to the innate realm in an era of scarce spiritual energy, none of them are ordinary. All can be considered as true cultivation geniuses. Just give them a little more time to refine spiritual energy, cultivate spiritual power, and step into a whole new realm is just a matter of time. However, that's what makes it interesting. A truly dazzling era will not be that boring. Lu Qing looked at the two magic talismans floating above his palm and smiled. Then he dispersed the primordial Qi talisman and stored the spiritual energy, Earth Element Talisman, into the cavity between his eyebrows. During the daytime crossing of the tribulation, the several primordial Qi talismans he had originally stored in the space of his cavities were destroyed by the tribulation thunder. It was an excellent opportunity to replace them all with spiritual energy talismans. No sooner said than done, points of light appeared in Lu Qing's hands, continuously drawing nature's spiritual energy, consecutively condensing several spiritual energy talismans and storing them into the cavity between his eyebrows. They turned into orbs of light, circling slowly around the divine soul talisman. After stepping into the Yang talisman realm of the rune path, the number of spirit talismans that Lu Qing could simultaneously keep in the cavity between his eyebrows also increased. It doubled, allowing up to 10 spirit talismans to be stored at once. However, he had not yet fully decided which spirit talismans to keep, so after replacing the original 5 primordial Qi talismans with spiritual energy talismans, he temporarily stopped. While Lu Qing was condensing the spiritual energy talisman, the elder doctor in the adjacent room naturally sensed the fluctuations. However, he knew that Lu Qing was cultivating, so he did not disturb him. Instead, he quietly expanded his own innate domain and silently began to ponder and practice cultivation. During the day, seeing Lu Qing crossing the tribulation had also stirred the old man. The elder doctor didn't envy his disciple. On the contrary, he felt guilty for not being able to shield Lu Qing from the hardships. As a mentor, he could only watch his disciple being tormented by the heavenly tribulation, nearly dying, and he was utterly powerless to help. This deeply wounded the elder doctor's heart. If only he had possessed greater strength, perhaps he could have offered Lu Qing some help. Master is also cultivating. The moment the elder doctor expanded his domain, Lu Qing detected this subtle ripple. He was at first a bit astonished, but then he smiled. It seems that the old master has also become diligent in his cultivation. After withdrawing his attention, Lu Qing continued to sift through the gains of his recent tribulation. This time, as Lu Qing passed the heavenly tribulation, not only did he condense the innate body and formally step into the innate realm. The greatest reward he received was the 2 innate divine abilities that the tribulation cloud bestowed upon him just before dispersing. 2 divine skills, one for the physical body divine power, one for the divine soul divine ability. Is this what heaven and earth granted me because they sensed the rich accumulation of my physical and divine soul's powers? The 2 innate divine abilities Lu Qing acquired were completely different from each other. One of them was a physical body divine power called Great Strength. Once this power was exercised, the body would enter a berserk state, with both strength and defensive power increasing tenfold. Aside from physical exhaustion afterward, there would be no other negative effects. It could be called an explosive secret technique with no side effects and extremely powerful effects. The other was a divine soul divine ability named Illusion. Once this illusion technique was deployed, anyone affected, as long as their divine soul power was weaker than Lu Qing's, would be lost in the illusion realm until Lu Qing lifted the illusion, or until they died. Otherwise, there was virtually no chance of escaping. Even those with stronger divine soul power than Lu Qing, if caught off guard, would expend significant time to break free from the illusion. If used cleverly, it could save lives at critical moments. These two divine skills, one robust, one gentle, one overt, and one covert. Although they were not earth-shattering great divine powers, they were perfect for Lu Qing at the moment. During the day, he had only briefly utilized great strength without perfect mastery, and yet he had already managed to wound the third saint's puppet Dharma body, forcing it to admit defeat. If he had used both divine skills at the time, he probably could have defeated the third saint in an instant. After all, although the third saint's realm was high, he was vulnerable to such strange, soul-targeting divine skills. Even as a supreme being at the Foundation establishment peak, he would likely have suffered a setback. Of course, Lu Qing did not do so. For one, activating both divine skills simultaneously would have put great pressure on him, having just broken through. For another, there was no point. After all, the opponent was merely a puppet Dharma body. Annihilating it would have only provoked the third saint, with no other benefits for him. Better to keep a trump card for himself. Needless to say, the divine skills granted by heaven and earth weren't that simple. In fact, the two innate divine abilities Lu Qing received were growth-type divine skills. In other words, these two innate divine abilities could become stronger through continuous cultivation. And the method to cultivate them was also within Lu Qing's mind. Chapter 452. Divine Skills Rank, Magic Jade Bottle. Two innate divine abilities. Not only were they powerful but also a perfect match for Lu Qing. Moreover, what was more important was that these two divine skills could grow and develop. When the daytime tribulation clouds dispersed, they not only granted Lu Qing divine skills but also bestowed upon him the successive cultivation advancement methods for those skills. Lu Qing tuned into the divine skill cultivation methods in his mind. Before long, he opened his eyes, a light of comprehension shining through. So it is, divine skills also have their hierarchy. Small divine power, great divine power, supreme divine power, great Taoist divine power, etc. The gap between each divine skill level is huge, akin to a chasm. Advancing divine skills is extremely harsh, as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The requisite comprehension and cultivation time is terrifyingly long. It's definitely not something that can be achieved overnight. After Lu Qing understood the information about divine skills in his mind, he was amazed. He hadn't expected there to be so many levels between divine skills. And the gap between each level was enormous, like a chasm, with the power being entirely incomparable. The two innate divine abilities bestowed to him by the tribulation clouds belonged to small divine power. But don't think that small divine power was truly ordinary. In fact, any divine skill was extremely rare. Even small divine power was the stuff of dreams for countless cultivators. After all, every divine skill involves the mysterious and unpredictable laws of the Great Tao and is not something that can be easily understood and mastered purely through personal cultivation. It can be said that for any cultivator below the level of primordial spirit, possessing a small divine power could be seen as a real trump card. And obtaining divine skills was similarly extremely difficult. Generally, only those with special bloodlines, or who encounter powerful opportunities, might possess divine skills. Like Lu Qing, being the first tribulation crossing cultivator after the changes in heaven and earth and the spiritual energy recovery. He received the favor of the will of heaven and earth. A chance descended, granting him divine skills. Such an occurrence is absolutely unique, rare to find even once in an era. Not to mention that the small divine power he received could advance through cultivation, potentially growing into a higher level of divine skill. However, the power of great divine power is too overwhelming, absolutely not something I can covet at present. Even if I could comprehend it, I would certainly be overwhelmed by the power of the vast laws of the Great Tao and shattered to pieces. According to the information in his mind, to even attempt to touch upon the level of great divine power, one must at least reach the realm of primordial spirit or above. Otherwise, with an insufficient realm and not enough strength in the divine soul power, if one were to forcefully comprehend it, the backlash from the power of the Great Tao would be unbearable, even for Lu Qing, leading to annihilation of body and soul. Even for small divine power, cultivators below the level of primordial spirit, though possibly lucky enough to obtain it, also generally find it difficult to fully grasp and unleash its true power. If someone could truly comprehend and fully master it, they would be considered a true natural genius, an exceptional prodigy of their times. It seems that, in addition to improving my cultivation, I must focus more on understanding these two divine skills. If I can completely master them, I would have nothing to fear, even if the third saint were to come in person. Having understood the prowess of divine skills, Lu Qing immediately adjusted his future cultivation plans. Already possessing superpower, he had a knack for fast comprehension. He believed that it wouldn't take long for him to thoroughly understand and master the two innate divine abilities. After sorting through the changes that came with his breakthrough in crossing the tribulation, Lu Qing began to take inventory of everything that had returned. With a slight wave of his hand, various objects appeared before him. Naturally, the most conspicuous was the Earth Spirit Pearl at the center. Previously, he had placed this Earth element treasure into the Chenkuan Qi bag for the purpose of crossing the tribulation. Now it was time to place it back into the space of the acupoint between his eyebrows. With a thought, the Earth Spirit Pearl turned into a streak of light and entered the acupoint between Lu Qing's eyebrows. The Divine Soul Talisman, as usual, was projected into the center of the Earth Spirit Pearl to nourish itself. However, this time Lu Qing sensed something different. After his breakthrough, his divine soul power was more than 10 times stronger than before. The speed of his refinement of the Earth Spirit Pearl had also greatly increased. He estimated that in no more than 3 days, he would be able to completely refine and control the Earth element treasure. By then, his trump card would increase by 1. After storing the Earth Spirit Pearl, Lu Qing turned his attention to the other items. The items in front of him were divided into 2 categories. The majority were what he had found on the corpses of the monks from the suspended mountain. The rest were from the black-robed man after he had performed the heavenly demon disintegration technique and dropped them from his body. After looking a few times, Lu Qing put away most of the insignificant items, only leaving behind a few: a golden bowl, a vajra pestle, a red kasaya, and a black and a white jade bottle. First, Lu Qing's attention was drawn to the 2 jade bottles. One white and one black. The white jade bottle had been found on Shenming. The black jade bottle had fallen from the black-robed man. What they had in common was that both bottles had a feature to shield their aura, preventing him from sensing what was exactly stored inside for the time being. Lu Qing picked up one of the jade bottles and gave it a focused inspection. Soon, a faint golden superpower light emerged from the body of the bottle. Magic Jade Bottle. A jade bottle refined with a unique artifact refining technique, capable of storing treasures and elixirs for a long time without leaking their aura. It seems there are extremely precious heavenly materials and earthly treasures hidden in this jade bottle. The bottle comes with a small-sized space, capable of containing objects far larger than its own volume. Protected by mystical runes, it ensures the essence of spirit pills remains sealed for a millennium. Lu Qing picked up the other jade bottle to observe and discovered the information was mostly the same. He was somewhat surprised. He had not expected that both jade bottles would be such rare treasures, having reached the level of magic artifacts. Not only did they contain a small space, but they could also conceal the aura and seal medicinal potency. Compared to the one he had refined in Yunlai Town previously, these were much stronger. From the information on the notes, Lu Qing knew there was no danger inside the jade bottles. He picked up the black jade bottle, ready to see what was contained inside. There were restrictions sealing the jade bottle. However, this did not pose a challenge for Lu Qing. With his current divine soul power, coupled with his knowledge of prohibition breaking, unless the restriction was placed by a cultivator whose realm was far superior to his own, no prohibition could withstand his attempt to break it. Thus, after only spending a little time, Lu Qing had completely cleared the restriction on the jade bottle. At the same time that Lu Qing broke the restriction, in a forest tens of miles outside the holy city, a black figure suddenly felt a pain in his heart and spirit and couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. He opened his eyes, feeling even more hatred. "Damn it! My restriction has been broken. That kid is fast. Although he knew that Lu Qing had broken the restriction, the black-robed man was helpless. He could only close his eyes bitterly, channeling his energy to heal. Having used the heavenly demon disintegration technique, his primordial chi was greatly damaged, making even traveling difficult for the moment. Only after recovering some of his primordial chi could he think of leaving this place to lay low. Lu Qing didn't know that the black-robed man hadn't escaped far yet. At this moment, he was sensing the aura emanating from inside the jade bottle. His eyes showed a pleased expression. Indeed, just as I suspected, the bottle contains origin energy. Chapter 453, Body Treasure Light, famous throughout the world. After inspecting the ink jade bottle, Lu Qing picked up the white jade bottle to examine it. The white jade bottle also had restrictions, but because Xianming was dead, the restrictions were very weak. Lu Qing broke them effortlessly. Then, as he expected, this jade bottle also contained origin energy. Moreover, the quantity was several times more than that in the ink jade bottle. But that was to be expected. Xianming and his people, carrying magical treasures and being numerous experts, seized the origin energy naturally without fear of anyone, unobstructed. Unlike the black-robed man who could only act covertly in the shadows. Looking at the origin energy in the two jade bottles, Lu Qing was very surprised. Although he had suspected that the jade bottles might contain origin energy, he had not expected the quantity to be so immense. Together, the two bottles contained more than 10 strands of origin energy. Origin energy not only transforms talent and turns mediocrity into genius, but it also inherently possesses the mysterious ability to contain and transform all things. The strand of origin energy that belonged to me got infused into my physical body during the daytime crossing the tribulation. It significantly enhanced my physical body strength, far surpassing a normal perfect innate realm. However, I can feel that this is not my limit. If I could refine more origin energy, my physical body would become even stronger. After crossing the heavenly tribulation and integrating a strand of origin energy, Lu Qing's physical body became so strong that even the third saint was shocked. Yet Lu Qing felt that this was not his limit. His body still had a strong craving for origin energy. If he could devour and refine more origin energy, his physical body would definitely strengthen further. Putting words into action, Lu Qing immediately put other things aside and went to a corner of the room. Using his finger as a sword, he drew a simple array on the ground to mask his aura. Then he sat down within the array, picked up the ink jade bottle, opened his mouth, and inhaled a strand of origin energy. As the origin energy entered his dantian, Lu Qing immediately activated his heart and spirit to begin its refinement. After stepping into the innate realm, Lu Qing's cultivation had become much stronger than before. Additionally, his body had already integrated a strand of origin energy. Thus, the speed of this refinement was much faster than the first time. Before long, a strand of origin energy was refined and absorbed by Lu Qing. Similarly, his physical body grew even stronger. Feeling that his body still hadn't reached its limit, Lu Qing did not hesitate to take out another strand of origin energy, swallow it, and refine it. In this manner, as Lu Qing continuously devoured and refined origin energy, the aura on his body grew increasingly powerful. Had he not used the Divine Soul Talisman to mask his aura, and been in an array, he might have alarmed the nearby powerhouses long ago. Including the origin energy originally fused into my body, this is already the 9th strand. When Lu Qing took another strand of origin energy from the jade bottle, his eyes gleamed with a peculiar light. 9 is the number of extremity. He felt that his body could only accommodate one more strand of origin energy at most, before reaching its limit. After experiencing the baptism of the 9 tribulation thunders, can I only accommodate 9 strands of origin energy? I wonder, after refining this last strand of origin energy, what kind of transformation will my physical body undergo? With a slight stir of his heart and spirit, Lu Qing swallowed down the 9th strand of origin energy. As this strand of origin energy was refined, Lu Qing's body finally underwent a peculiar transformation. His skin, already fair as jade, began to emit a faint luminous glow, which grew increasingly radiant. Finally, when Lu Qing completely refined the origin energy, with a boom, not only did the luminous glow around his body intensify, but his internal organs, blood vessels, muscles, bones, and marrow all underwent a groundbreaking transformation, rapidly evolving. Ultimately, when all the transformations ended, the luminous glow around Lu Qing turned into a layer of mysterious treasure light. It looked not only mystical but also extremely resilient. Amidst the light, Lu Qing opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the glow inside his body. He paused, then his eyes showed astonishment. Body shining with treasure light. Has my physical body actually reached the realm of generating treasure light? Lu Qing was very delighted. What is body shining with treasure light? From the heritage of the Li Hua sect, Lu Qing knew that during the cultivation era, cultivation methods also included many paths. Magic cultivation uses divine soul to communicate with nature, cycling powerful spells to sweep all directions. Body cultivation refines the physical body, overpowering spells with strength, also immensely powerful. Sword cultivation focuses solely on a flying sword, with the sword breaking all spells and remaining unmatched. Each cultivation method has its unique strengths. Lu Qing's practice from the Seal sect represents one type of talisman cultivation. However, typical talisman cultivators mainly focus on drawing and refining talismans, while the Seal sect's heritage involves cultivating a divine soul talisman within the forehead's aperture. Compared to ordinary talisman cultivation, this places much higher demands on talent. And the body shining with treasure light that Lu Qing spoke of is actually a realm of body cultivation. Body cultivation specializes in refining the physical body, connecting with nature's spiritual energy, using various secret techniques to temper oneself, thereby obtaining incredible physical strength. This process is akin to treating one's own physical body as a magical treasure, continuously tempering it. Chapter 454. In fact, truly powerful body cultivators could indeed refine their physical bodies to be comparable to magical treasures. They could withstand magic treasures with bare hands, and even when bombarded by magic treasures, their physical bodies couldn't be broken. A fearsome realm indeed. Among them, there was a clear characteristic when a body cultivator reached a certain realm in their cultivation. That was, at the moment when their breath exploded in circulation, the surface of their body would shine with a layer of treasure light, just like a magical treasure. This treasure light not only possessed great defensive power but could also be controlled by the body cultivator, turned into edges of Gang Qi, enhancing their own combat strength. It could be considered a major combat characteristic of body cultivators. Based on the treasure light emanating from a body cultivation practitioner, one can judge their tremendous strength. The most basic body treasure light is white, followed by red, gold, purple, and so on. The more intense the light, the stronger the strength. The body treasure light currently emanating from Lu Qing was only the most basic white. However, one must understand that even among body cultivators, reaching the realm of body shining took at least reaching the foundation establishment stage. That is to say, Lu Qing's physical body strength now was no less than that of a body cultivator in the foundation establishment stage. If we were to fight again, I could pulverize the third saint's puppet Dharma body with only the power of my physical body, without the need to use divine skills. Lu Qing thought, clenching his fist and feeling the unrivaled power within his body, filled with confidence. Moreover, having a strong physical body was just one aspect. In reality, after refining the 9 strands of origin energy, Lu Qing's potential had become unfathomably deep. Even he himself couldn't predict how high his innate talent now was. Perhaps, I should choose 1 or 2 body cultivation methods to practice alongside my other techniques. Given that Lu Qing had yet to formally cultivate and was already capable of body shining, it would be a waste of natural talent not to cultivate body cultivation as well. Fortunately, inheritances from the Li Hua sect included some body cultivation techniques. Although not considered particularly profound inheritances, they were sufficient for Lu Qing's temporary use. However, the consecutive refinement of origin energy had already consumed quite a bit of his heart and spirit. So he wasn't in a rush, planning to slowly select his cultivation methods after leaving the holy city. After making plans, Lu Qing's gaze fell on the 2 jade bottles in front of him. 2 magic jade bottles were before him. The ink jade bottle was already empty, but the white jade bottle still contained 5 strands of origin energy. Xianming and the black-robed man are indeed my benefactors for leaving me such a generous gift. Lu Qing mused as he reapplied restrictions to the magic jade bottles, sealing the aura of the origin energy. Although he was no longer able to refine and absorb the origin energy, such an exotic treasure from heaven and earth still held immeasurable value. Not to mention, if he were to spread the word, who knows how many experts would be willing to exhaust their treasures for a single strand. Of course, exchange was out of the question, but Lu Qing had his own plans for the remaining origin energy. After tucking the 2 magic jade bottles into his Chengquan Qi bag, he took out the magic artifacts obtained from Xianming. Upon closer inspection, however, Lu Qing lost interest. These magic artifacts were all rare treasures, the Vajra pestle even reaching the level of a magical treasure. Yet, without exception, these magic artifacts required unique Buddhist spells to activate. Lu Qing had no interest in becoming a monk, nor did he have any Buddhist skills to cultivate. So he simply stored the items away, planning to deal with them when a suitable opportunity arose. Having finished all this, Lu Qing also felt a hint of fatigue. The events of today had been too much. Crossing the tribulation, slaying the monks from Suspended Mountain, battling the 3rd saint, and then refining the origin energy in succession. After such a series of events, even someone as mentally resilient as him was beginning to feel the strain. Without forcing himself any further, he extinguished the lamp and went to rest in bed. A quiet night passed, and Lu Qing, tired in spirit, slept especially well. However, what he didn't know was that, on this very night, his exploits not only sparked discussion throughout the whole holy city but also quickly spread to the outside world, reaching all of Central State. Especially among the major sects and their innate realm experts, there are unique ways of communication. Almost overnight, Lu Qing's name was known throughout the entirety of Central State. What did you say? During the day on Holy Mountain, an opportunity descended, scattering in every direction. In the holy city, the first tribulation crossing since the change of heaven and earth had occurred, and it was a young man. In the council hall of a major sect, a figure with an overwhelmingly powerful aura suddenly stood up. His eyes widened as he stared at the elder responsible for the sect's intelligence. On either side of him, the other elders also wore faces of utter astonishment. Reporting to the sect master, "It is indeed so," the elder in charge of intelligence said with respect. What followed was even more sensational news. Not only that, Elder Chang also mentioned in his message. After the young man completed his tribulation, he went on a massacre, killing all the monks from the Suspended Mountain secret land, including Master Xianming and others. Even the 3rd saint, who personally stepped in, could not stop him. The 3rd saint even lost to that young man. To cut down the monks of Suspended Mountain and defeat the 3rd saint? The sect master and the other elders were now even more dumbfounded with shock. There was no helping it. Each of these matters, on their own, was something they wouldn't dare even contemplate on a normal day. Let alone the monks from Suspended Mountain. Every person from the 4 great secret places was formidable. And now they were being told all of these individuals had been slaughtered by a single young man? Then there was the 3rd saint, someone whose unfathomable depth was most keenly felt by them all. Not too long ago, due to the changes of heaven and earth to avoid chaos and fighting in Central State, the 3 saints had visited each of the major sects. The 3rd saint had visited their sect. The sect master and all the elders could still remember the terrifying nature of the 3rd saint at that time. The mere presence of the 3rd saint, without even releasing any aura, made everyone sense an indomitable presence and dared not make the slightest move. And such a mysterious and suffocatingly powerful 3rd saint had been defeated by a mere young man? For a moment, everyone began to doubt the authenticity of the news. Similar reactions occurred almost simultaneously within all the major sects of Central State. Every sect that learned of the events that transpired in the daylight of the Holy City couldn't believe it at first. When they confirmed that the news was indeed true, they were completely astonished. Some wanted to immediately investigate Lu Qing's identity and background. Some wanted to know every detail of what had happened in the Holy City. Others even set off on their journey, intent on making their way to the Holy City to see for themselves. Why did the first tribulation crossing after the change of heaven and earth happen so quickly? Atop a lofty mountain, a figure with a terrifying aura held a jade token in hand, his face ashen. The rules of heaven and earth have just evolved and improved somewhat, and I haven't had the chance to fully understand them yet. And already someone was able to trigger the tribulation cloud and successfully undergo the tribulation. The figure with the terrifying aura looked extremely upset. He always prided himself on unparalleled talent, unequaled in all the world. Even towards the three saints atop the holy mountain, he didn't have much regard. He knew that those three old turtles were only so powerful because they occupied the advantageous position of the holy mountain. He believed that if he were to be recognized by the holy mountain, he would be stronger than those three. He had such a high opinion of himself that he even disdained going to the holy mountain to study those ancient techniques. Anything those three old men could pull out surely wouldn't be any profound cultivation technique. He was confident that with his talent, even without ancient cultivation methods, he could still forge his own path by comprehending the heaven and earth rules. In fact, since the change of heaven and earth and the spiritual energy recovery, he had indeed made tremendous gains in his focused contemplation. Initially, he believed that he would be the first martial artist in this world to break through the bottleneck and step into an entirely new realm. But now, feeling the message from the jade token in his hand, the figure with the terrifying aura found it hard to stay calm. The heavens and earth have just changed, and someone was able to trigger the tribulation cloud and pass the tribulation. I want to see just what kind of devil or monster you are. After a long while, the figure with the terrifying aura managed to calm his mind. He gazed at the sea of clouds before him, eyes glinting with a cold fierceness. The next moment, he took a step and vanished from the summit of the high mountain. Chapter 455. The Invitation of the Saint Master, Departure. In the early morning, Lu Qing sat in the courtyard. With a jade token in his left hand and an engraving knife in his right, he was carefully carving. After a while, Hu Ziji, somewhat bleary-eyed, walked out from her room. Seeing Lu Qing in the courtyard, she instantly became alert. Quietly composing herself, she then approached Lu Qing. "Mr. Lu, you're up so early." "Yes," Lu Qing said with a smile as he looked up. His hands didn't stop moving. "Mr. Lu, what are you carving?" Hu Ziji asked curiously. "A jade talisman." Lu Qing finished the last few strokes, and the jade token in his hand suddenly emitted a white light before slowly receding. "Just in time, you can try it and see if it works." Lu Qing handed the jade token to Hu Ziji. "Let me try." Hu Ziji took the jade token, puzzled. "How should I try it?" "Just drip a drop of blood on it," Lu Qing said, taking out a silver needle. "I'll prick you, don't worry. It won't hurt." "Oh." Hu Ziji naturally trusted Lu Qing and obediently stretched out her palm. Lu Qing gently pricked her index finger, squeezing out a drop of blood onto the jade token. Marvelously, the drop of blood, upon touching the jade token, was absorbed instantly as if it had disappeared into the sea. A hint of red soon emerged on the entire jade token. What surprised Hu Ziji even more was that she felt a mysterious connection to the jade token. "Do you feel it?" Lu Qing asked with a smile when he saw her expression. "Use your heart and spirit to sense it and try. This jade talisman has the function of concealing your aura. As long as you control it with your heart and spirit, it can hide your qi very well, preventing others from detecting it." Upon hearing this, Hu Ziji tried to sense the jade token through the subtle connection. Quickly, she felt a strange force envelop her, concealing all her qi. "Mr. Lu, this is..." Hu Ziji turned to Lu Qing. This is the jade talisman I carved for you and little Yen. Both of you have obtained a strand of origin energy, but with your current cultivation, you cannot actively refine it. It can only be integrated into your bodies over time with the energy slowly assimilating. However, during this process, the origin energy will still emit fluctuations, which can easily attract the covetous attention of others. This jade talisman can help you conceal that aura. Lu Qing explained. Only then did Hu Ziji understand that this jade talisman was specially carved for her by Lu Qing. She immediately stood up and thanked him. Thank you, Mr. Lu. It's nothing, just a trivial matter. Remember, during this time, do not take off this jade talisman. Inside it, I've also engraved a defensive magic. If you face danger in the future, at a critical moment, it should be able to block some of it for you. Hearing this, Hu Ziji realized the true value of the jade talisman in her hand. She held onto the jade talisman tightly, feeling increasingly grateful to Lu Qing. While Hu Ziji was admiring the jade talisman, Lu Qing picked up a second jade token and began to carve. After entering the innate realm, his divine soul power had not only increased significantly but had also undergone a qualitative change. Previously, engraving arrays required careful attention and complete focus. Now it was a matter of ease, done as he wished. Before long, he had finished carving the second jade talisman. Moreover, this second jade talisman was even more exquisite than the one for Hu Ziji. It was perfectly suited for little Yen to wear. Just as he finished carving the jade talisman, the elder doctor and the others had also risen. Lu Qing went inside, woke little Yen, and helped her wear the jade talisman. After being busy for a while, everyone began to have their breakfast. Master, now that we've got what we came for, should we set off back home? Lu Qing added some side dishes to his bowl and slowly ate as he asked. The elder doctor pondered for a moment and nodded. Indeed, now that everything is concluded, and we understand the state of affairs in the world, it is time to return. Mr. Lu, you're leaving. Hu Ziji was taken aback. We've dealt with all we came here to do in the central state, and there is no need to stay any longer. I'm not sure what you plan to do, Miss Hu. Will you go back with us? Or continue to stay in Holy City? I'll go back with you, Hu Ziji immediately said. Within the Holy City, hidden dragons and crouching tigers were countless. She was just a small figure at the Qi blood realm, yet she carried the fortune of origin energy. If left alone here, it was uncertain that as soon as Lu Qing and the others left, she might be attacked and have her fortune taken away. Lu Qing nodded, not surprised. Then after we finish eating, let's bid farewell to Tower Master and Mr. Ji Rue. By the time Lin Jirue received the news that Lu Qing and the others were leaving and hurried over, Lu Qing and his group had already begun packing their luggage. Elder Chun, young Master Lu, are you leaving so soon? Yes, Mr. Ji Rue. Originally our goal in coming to Central State was merely to allow my master to perceive the holy pool. We did not expect so many things to take place in the process. Now that we have offended Suspended Mountain, it is uncertain when they may seek revenge. It is better to leave sooner rather than later. Lin Jirue hesitated for a moment, but could not think of any persuasive words to say. For Lu Qing was right. He had killed Xianming and his companions and taken their opportunities and magical treasures. It went without saying that Suspended Mountain would be furious at such an act. After all, they were one of the 4 great secret places, a formidable power that had existed for countless tens of thousands of years. Chapter 456. No one knew how deep its foundations really were. Such an enormous entity, if determined to retaliate, would certainly deliver a strike as unimaginable as thunder. Moreover, while open attacks are easy to dodge, hidden arrows are hard to guard against. Even though Lu Qing and the elder doctor were powerful, it was difficult to say if they could withstand such an attack. Thinking of these, Lin Jirue swallowed back his words of retention. However, he quickly remembered the purpose of his visit. He hurriedly said, "But just last night, my master received a holy order from the Holy Mountain, saying the 3 Saint Masters have set up a banquet and would like to invite young Master Lu and Elder Dr. Chun, both of you, to gather on the mountain. The 3 Saint Masters want to invite me and my master to the mountain? Lu Qing was taken aback. Exactly. We received the holy order last night, but it was already late, so my master planned to come over and invite you today. It was unexpected that they heard about Lu Qing and others planning to leave early in the morning. Lu Qing thought for a moment, then shook his head. Mr. Ji Rui, forgive my rudeness. I'm afraid I'm not fortunate enough to accept the generous kindness of the Saint Masters. Young Master Lu, are you planning to refuse the invitation of the Saint Masters? Lin Jirui was stunned for a moment. That's right, I prefer to speak plainly, Mr. Jirui, as you saw. I had some conflict with the 3rd Saint yesterday and offended him. Now the Saint Masters say they want to invite my master and me to the feast. Honestly, I really dare not go. Lin Jirui didn't expect Lu Qing to be so frank. He hesitated for a moment and said, the 3 Saint Masters are always magnanimous, and I don't think they would mind yesterday's incident. Then Lin Jirui saw Lu Qing looking at him with a smile that was not quite a smile. His face turned red, knowing his words were too naive. Whether the 3 Saint Masters would blame yesterday's matter, I do not know. However, I never place my safety at the mercy of others' magnanimity. So, Mr. Ji Rui, please help convey to the Tower Master. My master and I'm afraid, cannot attend the banquet of the Saint Masters. Lin Jirui's mouth opened, but he couldn't say anything, because if it were him, he wouldn't want his safety to depend on someone else's whims either. So in the end, he could only say, then I will go back and see what my master has to say. Watching Lin Jirui leave, Lu Qing shook his head again. During the previous battle with the 3rd Saint, he had uncovered a great secret about the opponent. The 3 Saint Masters on the Holy Mountain had received the approval of the Holy Mountain's will. Now they were all above the peak of Foundation establishment in terms of cultivation, much stronger than him now. It was only because they were bound and their true bodies could not leave the Holy Mountain. They could only walk the outside world with their puppet Dharma bodies. If he and his master were to go to the Holy Mountain, their life and death would truly depend on the other's whims. With their cultivation levels and the support of the Holy Mountain's will, he feared that even if he were to deploy the Chenkuan Chi bag, he would stand no chance. After all, though he had ascended to the innate realm, the power of the spiritual artifacts he could harness was still minuscule. The effectiveness of a sliver of spiritual artifact power on the Holy Mountain was unclear to anyone. Faced with such unpredictable dangers, how could Lu Qing possibly agree? Since the true bodies of the 3 Saint Masters could not leave the Holy Mountain, as long as they did not ascend it, the puppet Dharma bodies could not harm him as he was now. Thus, not ascending the mountain was the safest choice. By the time Lu Qing and his companions had packed up, the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master also arrived at the courtyard. He even brought over their carriage. Seeing Lu Qing and the others, the Tower Master did not mention the invitation of the Saint Masters. Instead, he expressed his embarrassment that he had not hosted Lu Qing and his companions well in the past few days. Seeing this, Lu Qing understood the Tower Master's attitude. It seemed that this wise man, after knowing his stance, had no intention of insisting. This allowed him to relax. If possible, he did not want to conflict with this elder. The 2 dragon blood steeds, upon seeing Lu Qing and the others, happily snorted. You 2 fellows have been eating and drinking well recently. Lu Qing, seeing the sleek and slightly fatter fur of the 2 foolish creatures, knew that the Heavenly Mechanism Tower had taken very good care of them. These 2 precious horses are of a rare breed, not only magnificent but also highly intelligent. The disciple in charge of their care grew so fond of them that he couldn't help but overfeed them a bit, said Lu Qing, amused by the situation. The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master also felt a bit embarrassed and quickly explained. Horses, because of their need to run, should not be too fat. Otherwise, they won't be able to reach their full speed. It hasn't been long, and these 2 horses have already visibly gained weight, indicating just how much the caretaker disciple has fed them. Senior Tower Master needn't concern himself. These 2 gluttons are always greedy. If not controlled, they would keep eating non-stop. Your disciples might not understand these 2 and feared they'd go hungry. It's fine, we'll have them run a bit more on the way back, and they'll shed that extra weight, Lu Qing reassured nonchalantly. Since their bloodlines transformed, these two had become much greedier. Although they ate a lot, they could run for longer periods. With their speed, they would quickly burn off the extra weight. By the way, Senior Tower Master, thanks for your sex care over the past few days. Here in this jade bottle, I have a small gift to show our gratitude. Lu Qing then took out a small jade bottle and handed it to the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master. The Tower Master was momentarily taken aback, then waved his hands and said, "Young Master, what are you talking about? It was our honor at Heavenly Mechanism Tower to host you and Dr. Chun. We cannot accept gifts for that. Please accept it, Senior. Not only have we been under your care, but just yesterday, due to us juniors, some of your property was also damaged. I really won't feel at peace if you don't accept this gift," Lu Qing said earnestly and insistently. Seeing Lu Qing's sincere and determined attitude, the Tower Master hesitated briefly but finally said, "In that case, I shall accept it with thick skin." Seeing the Tower Master accept the jade bottle, Lu Qing smiled. Then, turning to Lin Jirue, he took out a cloth bag. "Mr. Jirue, here are some plum blossom teas. A gift from my master. Please accept it." Lin Jirue's eyes brightened as he took the cloth bag, bowing and thanking. "Thank you, Elder Dr. Chun. I feared I would never get to taste this plum tea again." Elder Doctor laughed and said, "Once you finish this tea, if you still crave it, you're welcome to come to my place and pick some more. Then I thank you in advance." Lin Jirue was delighted and promptly accepted the offer. He also sensed that the atmosphere in the holy city was becoming increasingly tense. If there was a chance to leave and lay low somewhere else, it seemed like a good option. After saying their goodbyes, Lu Qing and others began packing their luggage into the carriage. Once everything was settled and everyone was seated in the carriage, Lu Qing bowed to the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master and Lin Jirue and said, "After accompanying someone for 1,000 miles, a parting is inevitable. Senior Tower Master, Mr. Jirue, I shall not trouble you further to see us off. As long as the green mountains remain and the clear rivers flow, if fate allows, we shall meet again. Everyone, take care on your journey," said the Tower Master. Ma Gu cracked his whip, and the carriage began to move slowly, heading out. Watching the carriage gradually draw away, Lin Jirue eventually expressed his concern. "Master, young Master Lu and his companions are reluctant to ascend the holy mountain. How should we report back to the three saints?" "What else can we do but report the truth?" the Tower Master said calmly. "With young Master Lu's strength, if he is unwilling, no one can force him. I believe the saints will understand the situation." Lin Jirue nodded. Indeed, with Lu Qing's unfathomable strength, even having defeated the third saint, he wouldn't ascend unless the other two saints intervened, and no else could persuade him otherwise. The Tower Master's gaze was distant. Deep down, he also had his reservations about the three saints' invitation for Lu Qing to ascend the mountain. Now that Lu Qing was unwilling to go, this matched his own wishes. He couldn't help feeling that if there were a conflict between Lu Qing and the three saints, something extremely dreadful might happen. Thus, it seemed best for Lu Qing to leave this way. Thinking this, the Tower Master's gaze fell on the jade bottle in his hand. Chapter 457 Divine Soul Tremors. Leaving the city. The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master held a jade bottle in his hand, carved with mysterious runes. A faint, peculiar aura leaked from it, clearly indicating that the contents were far from ordinary. Lin Jirue also noticed the uniqueness of the jade bottle. He asked, "Master, what is contained within the bottle?" The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master opened the jade bottle, and a sense of purpose permeated from it. Master and disciples' faces changed in an instant. "This is..." Lin Jirue felt a strong pull and his eyes widened. The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master covered the jade bottle again, and looked in the direction where Lu Qing and the others had left. "The gift young Master Lu left behind is a bit too generous." The carriage tick-tocked along the road, just having left the territory of the Heavenly Mechanism Tower and onto the street, immediately attracting the attention of numerous spies. Nowadays, calling the Heavenly Mechanism Tower the most watched sect in the Holy City was not an exaggeration. After all, the youth who first triggered the tribulation cloud and crossed the tribulation since the change of heaven and earth, and the spiritual energy recovery, resided within the Heavenly Mechanism Tower. This was the peerless expert who could casually slay multiple monks from Suspended Mountain and even defeat the third saint. No power dared to overlook the existence of such a terrifyingly strong figure. Hence, outside the Heavenly Mechanism Tower, it was already covered with undercover agents from all major forces, closely monitoring every move inside. Seeing a carriage coming out from within, all spies immediately perked up. Someone is coming out. With horns on its head. The steeds are divine and exceptional. It's unmistakable. That's his carriage. This early in the morning, where might he be headed? Could it be that they are leaving the holy city? After yesterday's battle, the various powers in the city had immediately investigated Lu Qing. One night had passed, and they still could not determine Lu Qing's exact origins. However, it was impossible to hide their movements since entering the city. Thus, all major powers knew that Lu Qing and his party had come to the city in a unique carriage. Especially the two steeds pulling the carriage, with their peculiar looks and divine presence. They were a rare sight of mutant beasts. Now seeing his carriage leaving the Heavenly Mechanism Tower, all spies began to speculate. However, no matter how curious they were, no one dared to peek inside the carriage. They did not even dare to get a little closer, only staying in place, observing the movements of the carriage with their eyes, and quickly relayed messages back to their respective forces through various means. Lu Qing and the elder doctor naturally could feel that people were watching them, but they didn't mind and casually chatted. "Ah Qing, that jade bottle you gave to the Tower Master, its patterns seem familiar. It appears to be the one you refined in Yunlai Town," mentioned the elder doctor. "Correct. It is indeed the one I refined in Yunlai Town," Lu Qing nodded. "The gift I gave the Tower Master is quite special. Ordinary containers cannot hold it. If ordinary items cannot contain it, could it be?" The elder doctor recalled the inexplicable aura he sensed earlier. "I gifted the Tower Master a strand of origin energy," Lu Qing said. The elder doctor was not surprised. He had already guessed it when he felt the strange energy coming from the jade bottle. Yet he was still astonished by his disciple's generosity. He knew the value of origin energy, especially after personally refining a strand. He understood even more the mystical nature of it. Many innate realm experts in the city had fought desperately and failed to snatch even a wisp of it the previous day. To think that Lu Qing could so easily give one away. Lu Qing sensed his master's astonishment, but did not offer much explanation. Giving away a strand of origin energy was a considered decision. After refining multiple strands of origin energy and elevating his physical body to the realm of shining body, he still had 5 strands of origin energy left. After refining so much origin energy, Lu Qing realized a normal cultivator could refine at most 1 strand of origin energy. Unless like him, whose physical body went through the baptism of heavenly tribulation and was far beyond ordinary cultivators, one could refine and contain multiple strands of origin energy. Thus, his master and Little Yen did not need more origin energy. The 5 strands he held could be disposed of at will. Gifting one to the Tower Master was because they had been residing in the Heavenly Mechanism Tower for some time, receiving considerable care. Especially previously, if not for the timely notice from the Tower Master and the help in overseeing the small courtyard and looking after Little Yen and the others, freeing him from worries. At that time, not only his master might have been forcibly converted into a puppet, but even Little Yen and the others could have been in danger. Moreover, considering that he also damaged so many properties of the Heavenly Mechanism Tower during his tribulation. Adding up all the favors, giving away 1 surplus origin energy strand was quite reasonable. He just wondered how the Tower Master would deal with that strand of origin energy. Whether he would refine it himself or bestow it upon his students. The carriage slowly moved through the holy city. Many forces, having received messages from their spies, also hurried over. More and more powerful figures gathered on both sides of the streets. But without exception, Everyone just quietly watched the carriage, daring not to obstruct it. Feeling the powerful presences that emerged on both sides of him, Ma Gu, who only had postnatal realm cultivation, suddenly felt pressured, his chest feeling stuffy and beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Even the two dragon blood steeds got restless. Humph! At that moment, a cold snort came from within the carriage, like a heavy hammer, striking everyone's heart and spirit. Chapter 458. Cultivators with profound cultivation were better off, feeling only a pain at the brow chakra and a bit of dizziness. But for those weaker cultivators of the innate realm, it felt as if the world was spinning, with severe pain in their heart and spirit, and their internal energy in complete disarray. Even worse, some coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood, having sustained serious internal injuries. At that moment, all the experts were greatly alarmed. No longer daring to act recklessly, they hastily retracted their energy, not leaking even a trace. Feeling the oppressive aura around them disappear, Ma Gu felt his pressure greatly reduced, and his heart and spirit relaxed considerably. At the same time, pride welled up in his heart. As expected of brother Lu Qing, with just a cold shout, he had subdued all the experts in the holy city, none daring to act rashly. Such authority, who else in the world could achieve it? With a soul-shaking shout and a slight punishment, Lu Qing did not continue to take action. With his current level of cultivation, ordinary innate realm experts were no longer worthy of his attention. Only those elusive dragons who understood the innate ultimate realm and had reached innate perfection, or those special cultivators like Master who had grasped their own domain, were worthy of a moment's notice from him. However, whether it was those at innate perfection or those who had grasped a domain, they were all extremely rare, akin to phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Especially the innate perfection cultivators, most of whom were in seclusive cultivation, aiming for a breakthrough to a higher realm and rarely walked the outside world. Just like this time, among the many innate realm experts in the holy city, aside from the third saint, Lu Qing didn't see any other cultivators of innate perfection. The highest realm among them was at most at the great success of the innate realm. And even the third saint was not a true innate perfection cultivator, but had assumed a puppet dharma body with his powerful divine soul power. Compared to a true innate perfection cultivator, there was still a difference. Ma Gu, pick up the pace, no need to dawdle any longer. After intimidating the indiscreet innate realm experts, Lu Qing spoke calmly. Yes, young master. Ma Gu flicked his whip, and the two dragon blood steeds began to trot lightly, leaving the group of innate realm experts behind. After the carriage had disappeared from view, the innate realm experts began to exchange wry smiles with each other, hearts still pounding with fear. We were too hasty. I didn't expect this one to have such a temper. I told you to be more restrained. That person dares to kill those from the suspended mountain as easily as chopping vegetables. You still dared to emit your energy in front of him. Do you not wish to live? Who knew he would be so unreasonable? I haven't offended him. In front of true power, one should be cautious in speech and action. Otherwise, you'll suffer sooner or later. Shall we follow them? Follow my ass. If we irritate that person again and he really gets angry, he'll just draw his sword to chop. We'll all be finished here. The carriage trotted all the way and soon arrived at the city gate. The gate was likewise filled with spies from various major powers. Seeing the carriage approaching, they all tacitly moved aside, fearing they would block the way. Ma Gu ignored them and, once the carriage had completely left the city gate, let out a loud crack of his whip. Whiz! Hearing this signal, the two dragon blood steeds became excited. Raising their hooves, they forcefully struck the ground. Having been confined in the city for so long, they were eager to be free. They immediately exerted their strength and charged forward. At the same time, a stream of Qing-colored energy burst forth from the carriage, enveloping both horse and vehicle, and swiftly wrapping them up. The next instant, the carriage turned into a trail of Qing light on the road, leaving the holy city behind and speeding towards the distance. What is that? Everyone at the city gate witnessing this scene were immensely shocked. A wind-controlling chariot? Is the carriage that person is riding really the legendary wind-controlling chariot? Atop the city walls, several figures with powerful auras were just as astonished upon seeing this. Just who is this young Master Lu, with such a mysterious origin, and even possesses the ancient wind-controlling chariot? Inside the Tianji building, Lin Jirue looked at the jade token in his hand and said, "Master, young Master Lu, and the others have already left the city." The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master nodded, then passed the jade bottle in his hand to him. "Jirue, this mystical opportunity will be refined by you." "Me? Refine it?" Lin Jirue was initially stunned and then hurriedly waved his hands. "Master, how could this be acceptable? This opportunity was bestowed upon you by young Master Lu. If Master refines it, you might be able to step into the innate perfection realm. I can guess some of young Master Lu's thoughts. By giving this item to me, he actually intended for me to pass it on to you. He knew that if he gave it directly to you, you might not accept it. Hence he thought of this compromise. So, in the end, this item truly belongs to you," the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master said with a smile. He knew that his disciple, when making friends, most disliked the intermingling of other factors in the relationship. It seemed young Master Lu also understood Jirue's temperament, hence the ruse of passing it through himself. It had to be said, that young man was not very old, but the astuteness of his thoughts was truly astonishing. Lin Jirue stared blankly at the jade bottle. With his sharp wits, he naturally grasped the meaning behind his master's words. But when he collected his thoughts, he still firmly shook his head. "Master, this object should be refined by you. Now the world is on the brink of chaos, and the situation in the Holy City is also unclear. No one knows when the storm will erupt. If Master refines this opportunity, you will undoubtedly be able to step into the innate perfection realm. Then our Tianji building will be able to better respond to the situation. You needn't worry about that. As your master, I don't need this item to enter the realm of innate perfection," said the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master with a laugh. Lin Jirue was taken aback. "Master, what do you mean? Yesterday, after observing young Master Lu's tribulation crossing, I had some reflections on the subtleties of the tribulation chi. I had a new insight into my divination abilities. It seems it won't be long before I can take that crucial step." The Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master shared a piece of news that greatly surprised Lin Jirue. "Does that mean, Master, you're about to have a breakthrough?" "That's right. So do you want this opportunity or not?" Lin Jirue looked at the jade bottle in his master's hand, hesitated for a while, as if remembering something, and then his expression suddenly became resolute. While the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master and his disciple were deferring the opportunity of the origin energy to each other. Atop Holy Mountain, in a certain mystical place, 3 ethereal figures were sitting cross-legged. One of the figures was the third saint who had fought with Lu Qing. "The young man has left the holy city," a gray figure said. "I told you, Brother Tu, your actions were futile," the third saint said indifferently. "That young man is very cautious. He wouldn't ascend the mountain so easily. But according to what you said yesterday, the young man is merely at the initial innate realm level of cultivation, yet he dared to challenge you. How does that resemble a cautious person?" the gray figure asked curiously. "He dared to confront me because he has absolute confidence in himself. The fact is, I lost to him, didn't I?" the third saint said. "But that doesn't mean the young man is reckless. I reflected and realized that from the moment I appeared yesterday, his face never showed panic. Even when I used the divine melt heaven and earth technique, his expression didn't change. It's as if he had already seen through my identity and knew my strength. I even suspect that he had realized that the puppet Dharma body I used wasn't my real body." The third saint recalled his battle with Lu Qing from the day before and felt more and more that something was off. Because from beginning to end, Lu Qing was too calm. It was not at all the demeanor one could expect from a young person. "How could he possibly see through your puppet Dharma body?" The gray figure shook its head in disbelief. "The puppet Dharma body is not even discernible by those in the innate perfection realm. How could he, merely a novice in the initial innate realm, possess such perceptiveness. Chapter 459, Bestowing Opportunity, the Rapid Comprehension Method of the Domain. The Gray Shadow couldn't believe it. A youth who had just stepped into the innate realm could see through the real and fake of a puppet Dharma body. You must know, the puppet Dharma bodies of the three brothers were meticulously refined by the ancient sky puppet sect. Even during the last cultivation era, at least a cultivator above the foundation establishment stage could perceive some clues within. No matter how capable Lu Qing was, he was after all just someone who had newly entered the innate realm. How could he possibly have such discerning eyes? This youth is no ordinary person, able to incite tribulation clouds and cross over tribulations at the very moment heaven and earth first transformed, when the rules had just been perfected. Such an anomaly must have something extraordinary about him, beyond our imagination. Being able to see through my puppet Dharma body. What's so strange about that? The third saint, however, shook his head, not agreeing with his second brother's thoughts. He recalled the battle with Lu Qing from the day before. Those eyes, calm and undisturbed. That feeling as if everything about oneself could not be concealed, completely seen through by the other party. To this day, it still sent a chill through his heart. That youth was too strange. He had lived for hundreds of years. Never before had he felt so thoroughly exposed. This was even more alarming than the terrifying combat power the other had displayed. The first one to cross the tribulation after the changes in heaven and earth, lamented the Gray Shadow. This child must be harboring a great secret. It's a pity. He's too wary and unwilling to come up the mountain. Otherwise, upon the mountain, no matter how capable he is, he couldn't turn the tide. It's also our fault. Last time he came up the mountain, we were all in seclusion. If we had found a way to keep him then, perhaps we could have glimpsed his secret. The third saint didn't speak. He didn't really agree with his second brother's suggestion in the first place. Now that the youth wasn't coming to the mountain, it instead gave him a sense of relief. Otherwise, as a saint master, a being standing at the pinnacle of the world, to scheme against a young man, his pride wouldn't allow him to do such a thing. Enough, second brother, you should no longer entertain such thoughts in the future. We have received the recognition of the will of Holy Mountain. To cultivate in seclusion here is already the greatest opportunity this world has to offer. As long as we cultivate step by step, we may eventually hope to break free from this cage. This youth is clearly favored by heaven and earth, an anomaly of this era. Why should you provoke him unnecessarily? If you were to incur karma and dispute in the future, you'd have regrets that are too late to address. The Black Shadow in the center, who had all along been silent, spoke up now. His tone was even, but the Gray Shadow didn't dare to be negligent. His expression turned serious, and he responded earnestly, "Yes, I understand. Initially, I simply wanted to see what made this youth extraordinary, since he had bested our third brother. I hadn't thought of doing anything to him. Now that he isn't willing, let's let this matter be." The Black Shadow shook his head, knowing his second brother was being somewhat disingenuous. It's a pity that he had been in seclusion last night, comprehending the rules after the evolution of heaven and earth, unable to stop his second brother from issuing the holy order in time. He wasn't sure if the youth now bore any grudges. It seemed they could only find an opportunity to make amends in the future. Sighing inwardly, the Black Shadow closed his eyes and continued to meditate on the rules of heaven and earth. These were all but trifles. For them, increasing their cultivation was most critical. Although the three brothers were recognized by the will of Holy Mountain and granted a great opportunity, that same opportunity also acted as shackles. If they couldn't reach a high enough realm within their lifetime to break through the prison, they would be trapped within Holy Mountain for life after life, unable to escape. Lu Qing and his party, riding in a horse-drawn carriage and relying on the power of the array, raced all the way. It wasn't until the evening that they finally stopped. After this journey, they were thousands of miles away from Holy City, effectively completely leaving behind that magnificent city. "You two blockheads? Comfortable now, huh?" Ma Gu looked at the two dragon blood steeds panting and exuberant, playfully cursing. These two didn't know if they had been stifled in Holy City for too long, as they had bolted swiftly when they first left Holy City. He had almost been unable to control the carriage. Later, it took giving each of them a lash to make these two blockheads calm down. Otherwise, who knows to what extent they would have run wild. Ma Gu released the restraints off the two blockheads, letting them find food for themselves. Lu Qing and the others began setting up tents and preparing a pot for dinner. After the bustle, everyone had dinner. Taking advantage of the time around the campfire, Lu Qing took out a jade bottle, saying, "Ma Gu, Xian, I have something for you too." "What is it?" Ma Gu and Wei Xian both looked over. "This jade bottle, I found it on those monks from the suspended mountain. Inside is origin energy that they have seized. I've used some, and there's still some to spare. Do you want it?" Upon hearing this, Ma Gu and his disciple were stunned, staring intently at the jade bottle in Lu Qing's hands. After a while, Ma Gu swallowed and said with some difficulty, "Brother Lu Qing, are you saying that you want to give Xian and me the origin energy that those big figures in the innate realm in Holy City would die to snatch?" Indeed, ordinary people can usually only refine one strand of this origin energy. Here, aside from you and Xian, everyone already has origin energy within them. Since there's some to spare, why don't you each refine a strand? After Lu Qing finished speaking, with a thought, 2 strands of origin energy flew out of the jade bottle towards Ma Gu and Wei Xian, entering their bodies. Chapter 460. He then took out 2 jade tokens and handed them to them. This origin energy, with your strength, cannot yet be independently refined. You should refine these 2 jade talismans to recognize a master, and wear them on your body at all times. They can conceal the aura of fortune on your bodies, preventing them from being sensed by the innate realm experts. Ma Gu and Wei Xian blankly accepted the jade talismans, only somewhat regaining their senses when they felt the warmth from the talismans. However, they still felt as if they were in a dream. It couldn't be helped. After all, the items Lu Qing had given them were too precious. During their time in the Holy City, Ma Gu and Wei Xian had personally witnessed how crazy those powerful innate realm experts were in fighting over the origin energy. They still vividly remembered the terrifying aura when more than 10 innate realm experts stormed into the small courtyard. If Lu Qing and the elder doctor hadn't been strong enough, they likely wouldn't have been able to protect the origin energy, or even their own lives. Furthermore, they had heard from the Heavenly Mechanism Tower Master afterward that on that day, within the Holy City fighting over the origin energy, just for the innate realm experts alone, more than 20 had died. Even more countless postnatal realm martial artists had died. It was unimaginable how fierce the competition for the origin energy had been within the Holy City at that time. Yet now, that extraordinary opportunity, which so many innate realm experts and martial arts grandmasters dreamt of and went crazy for, had so easily fallen into their own hands. This made Ma Gu and Wei Xian feel as if they were dreaming, unable to believe it. Lu Qing watched the 2 disciples standing dazed like wooden chickens, not interrupting them, letting them slowly digest this news. Giving Ma Gu and Wei Xian a strand of origin energy was something he had decided long ago. This trip to Central State, everyone could be considered to have experienced hardships together, supporting each other along the way. Especially Ma Gu, who had always taken up the role of the coachman, never complaining despite the hard work. Yet while others had gained great opportunities, they, as master and disciple, had gained nothing. As a friend, Lu Qing naturally wouldn't be so stingy. Since the origin energy was no longer much use to him anyway, he might as well share it equally, to the satisfaction of all. Stunned for a long time, Ma Gu finally gathered his thoughts. Looking at the jade talisman in his hand, he asked somewhat sheepishly, "Brother Lu Qing, how should I refine this jade talisman?" "You and Xian, each drop a drop of blood on its surface." Upon hearing this, the 2 immediately pricked their fingers and squeezed a drop of fresh blood onto the jade token. Then they felt the connection between themselves and the jade token and understood how to use the power of the jade talisman. Amazed, they began to fiddle with the jade talisman. Seeing them play with it joyfully, Lu Qing smiled lightly, then turned his head to look at the elder doctor who had been smiling as he watched the scene. "Master, there are some matters your disciple would like to consult you about." "What's the matter?" the elder doctor asked, slightly startled. "Now my will has almost reached great success, but I still have no clue about the domain. Your domain has reached an extremely profound realm. May I know how you came to comprehend it?" A domain within the innate realm is a very special realm. Not all innate realm experts can comprehend a domain. To be more precise, even most who have achieved great success in the innate realm find it difficult to comprehend a domain. Innate realm experts who possess a domain are almost as rare as those at the perfection of the innate realm. Although Lu Qing had deep comprehension in the realm of will, much stronger than most innate realm experts, he still hadn't been able to find any leads on the domain, unable to find a way in. "Are you talking about the domain?" The elder doctor paused at Lu Qing's question, falling into deep thought. After a while, he replied with some difficulty, "Ah Qing, I'm afraid I might not be able to teach you that, as I comprehended the domain myself by chance through a flash of spiritual light. It's difficult for me to explain exactly how I comprehended it initially." "I see," Lu Qing pondered. "It seems the path of the domain is indeed complex and arcane. Even the master does not know how he came to comprehend it initially." He thought for a while, then continued, "Then, master, could you perhaps show me how your domain operates and evolves? I want to see if I can gain some insights from it." "Of course you can." The elder doctor didn't hesitate and immediately reached out his hand. The next moment, a sphere of light condensed above his palm, within which countless tiny strands of sword qi formed, moving back and forth in an extremely profound manner. Moreover, the sword qi, intertwining red and white, moved in such a beautiful way that it instantly drew the attention of others, who stared blankly at the light sphere in the elder doctor's hand. Has master's control over his own domain reached such a realm? Even Lu Qing was secretly shaken. The move by the master seemed casual and light, like drifting clouds and a gentle breeze. But in reality, only those with a high realm of domain control could achieve such effortless execution, conjuring a miniature domain in his hand as if lifting a feather. Despite the small size of this domain, Lu Qing could sense the immensely powerful force concentrated within. Once unleashed, it would likely be too much for even an expert in the great success of innate realm to resist. Previously, during his battle with the third saint, Lu Qing found the opponent's move, Divine Melt Heaven and Earth, which manipulated the heaven and earth primordial power from all directions, extremely profound, a high-level application of domain. But now, watching the small sword energy domain in his master's hand, he felt that his master's move was equally dazzling, not inferior to the third saint. Master truly is a rare genius. His comprehension in cultivation far surpasses mine. Lu Qing marveled internally, not daring to be negligent, and immediately activated his superpower to look at the small sword energy domain in his master's hand. Seeing Lu Qing earnestly observing, the elder doctor didn't hold back, beginning to evolve his various insights about the domain right there, in the small sword energy domain on his palm. Lu Qing fixed his gaze tightly on the changes within the domain. Soon, a few characters appeared in his vision. Sword energy domain. A miniature domain evolved and refined by Chan Songqing using heart and spirit to harness the heaven and earth primordial power. Though small, the domain contains immense power, unstoppable once unleashed. The domain contains the power of water and fire, fusing together, enhancing its might even further. Legacy discovered. Start download simulation. Seeing the last line, Lu Qing was thrilled. He knew his method had worked. Previously, when Master was practicing nourishing bodyboxing, a simulation could be downloaded through superpower. Indeed, it was possible this time as well. Without hesitation, Lu Qing began to silently recite in his mind, choosing yes. Beginning download, current progress 1%, 2%, 3%, 98%, 99%, 100%. Download complete, proceed with simulation. Lu Qing continued and chose to simulate. Starting simulation, current progress 1%, 2%, 3%, 98%, 99%, 100%. Simulation complete. Proceed to learn. Master, that will be enough. You can withdraw the domain now. Seeing the simulation succeeded through superpower, Lu Qing immediately said, "Have you gained some insight?" The elder doctor asked. "A bit of understanding. I need to ponder it on my own now, Master. You can withdraw the domain." The elder doctor nodded and dispersed the domain in his hand. Maintaining the evolution of a domain was not an easy task. It was only because it was a miniature domain. Had it been a fully expanded domain, he probably would have struggled. After all, activating a domain consumes the heart and spirit. Even at his current realm, he couldn't sustain a full domain activation for too long. Seeing the master had dispersed the domain, Lu Qing didn't delay. He sat down cross-legged on the spot, closed his eyes, and gently chose to learn internally. The next moment, a flood of insights about the domain emerged from deep within his mind, shaking Lu Qing's heart and spirit. So this is what a domain is like?